Oh. I'm supposed to be doing a cold open.
This is the coldest cold open.
I am on the clock in no leagues. Earlier today, my watch had ended on the slows, but I'm joined by the always fantastic Jakob Sanderson. Instead, we are going to be drafting an FFPC main event, trying to win $1 million. That's what we're doing. It's stealing signals. Let's go. That was an all-time cold open. I think I nailed that. Stuck the landing. We were talking a little strategy beforehand. Those of you who have caught me and Jakob do any kind of content together know that when we get talking about anything, there's like not really going to be like a break point. So I was like, Jakob, we just got to go live. Fired it up. Was not ready to go live at all. But Jakob, welcome.
That's the coldest cold open you've ever done.
I know.
The ice cold open.
We got the guys in the chat. Nez, Henry, Bindles, how you guys doing? Racif, Evan, of course, man. I have been writing my butt off. Jakob, I saw you wrote one take from each of the AFC teams and from each of the NFC teams, all 32 teams. One of those came out this morning. One came out this evening. I've not gotten a chance to look at either of them, but for thinking about thinking subs on Substack, jakobsanderson.substack.com. I'm sure that's a couple pieces of fan. I thought that was an awesome idea when I saw the headlines, because people always do like bold predictions this time of year, this time of the other thing. You're like, I'm gonna do one for each team, which was cool.
I think the main thing is I've been doing so much content, not just on my own website recently, where I've been like on your streams, on Dave's streams, and I never know where people catch my stuff. And like my biggest fear is like I want to make sure that all of the takes that I've been spouting on these different things, that at least everything is somewhere. So I sort of did like a shorter form, got to link to a lot of other stuff. Sort of a rapid fire column. So it was fun. Enjoyed working through some of that. And pumped to do this. I was on also, if people wanted to check it out, did a primetime draft earlier today with Davis on his channel. So this is a fantastic 12 hours of fantasy football here between writing and drafting.
Well, and I told you a moment ago that my Huskies are playing their first game since a national championship loss that I witnessed in person. It was devastating. I came home with COVID. It was a brutal trip. Brutal trip down to Houston. Amon-Ra goes 4.
Well, that whole discussion of what we were going to do at 1-6 just became pretty moot, I think.
Yeah, that makes things nice. All right, Bijan, it is. Do you want to put the pick in?
Yeah, let's pick one person to do the picks. I don't care who, but I can do it.
I'll put him in.
All right.
I just decided that I'm older. I'm going to pull rank.
Sounds good.
All right. Bijan is in. But yeah, my Huskies are playing a game right now. It started at 8th. Their season opener, and I'm going to be watching that. So you get a little bit of the Shipcast vibe here, where I'm going to be randomly cheering for things happening outside of the draft. But yeah, we were talking about if the top 5 went sort of to script, what we would do at 6. You were mentioning that you have not gotten any Garrett Wilson yet. In your 9 high stakes, you have multiple Justin Jefferson shares. Both of us in a vacuum have Jefferson ranked highest. I've gotten Wilson 3 times. I have not gotten Jefferson, so I was probably going to bully you into another Jefferson, because you had said that
going to be all right with that.
You had him in the vacuum, and you were going to be fine with that.
Not getting Wilson thing is pretty strange, because, like, for the record, I have him ranked very highly. His ADP is 10. I have him ranked at 8. I did a draft last night, and I was at the 111, and I see Saquon Barkley come off the board at the 108, and I go, sweet, first Garrett Wilson share. And sure enough, the 110 says, no, sir, takes Garrett Wilson. I end up with A.J. Brown on that team, which is fine. But, so it's been a struggle. I think all my picks have either been, like, weirdly either, like, 1-1, 1-2, or I think I've gotten the 1-6, this exact pick. This is the 4th time I've gotten the 1-6, and then otherwise 111 and 112, so.
We got Kevin Tompkins in the chat. It says East Coast dad count 0. The Achievers said 1, Kev. We got one East Coast dad hanging out. It's 10:30. Lloyd Rage says we got Henry in the chat. He's doing an NFFC cut line right now. Yeah, we got ourselves a Bijan to start. I like the way that sets up.
Right,
gives us a lot of flexibility. I've built a couple Bijan and Brees teams now that have been quite fun. On FFPC, for anyone who doesn't know, famously tight end premium, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flexes. Lot of flexibility in builds, but it's always nice to get one of those top 3 running backs. Are you Bijan over Brees like I am, or are you Brees over Bijan?
I'm Brees over Bijan. If anyone wants to check it out, I did a favorite running backs for every running back room article where I did a running back team, 0 RB team, and a hero RB team using home league ADP and sort of picked who my favorite was, and probably the longest. Honestly, the article could have just been Brees over Bijan because I put like 1,200 words into that for the very first pick of my running back room, and I am Brees over Bijan. So I have not drafted Bijan yet in a managed format, so it's kind of a treat to get him here without having to make that call. I think the way I view it is, I think it really is like a 51-49 situation between them. I think the most likely scenario is that they're both fantastic. I don't know, maybe my one pushback to you, or maybe I'm going to poorly characterize your argument, but I think even if Bijan is like, sorry,
I said, well, you already have, because I was just joking, but I made the case that they're not gonna, in most scenarios, they're not gonna both be like, a lot of people are like, I've just been splitting it down the middle and I'm gonna be happy either way, and I'm like, that's usually not the way it works when you have 2 running backs in the first round. Like throughout fantasy football history, I've been playing this for 20 years. Most scenarios, one of these guys is going to be right over the other. That's just the way it's going to play out.
Well, anyway, I don't think it's like they're going to finish really close. I just think that it's a close decision. Like I don't think that there is a clear cut
sure
between them. I think that they're both good bets.
Yeah, no, you just said that you thought they were both going to be great, and a lot of times it doesn't pan out that way.
Talent, anyway. I do think that.
Sure.
Circumstance, historically, probably not. I guess the one thing I think is, like, what I've seen out there is, they're probably both going to be elite talents, and the Falcons situation is better. And I agree, probably more times, if you simulate it 100 times, the Falcons situation ends up better. I also think that they both end up being great. I just think what Brees did last year in terms of being one of the most efficient runners in the NFL and one of the most efficient receiving runners in the NFL over the second half of last season, and even over the whole of the season overall, with Zach Wilson and off an ACL tear, is so special that I think we might just be seeing like one of the best running backs ever, frankly, in Brees Hall. And I think Bijan Robinson could be like a Todd Gurley level hit, following through on everything we want of his prospect profile, but you'd still rather have had LaDainian Tomlinson. And I think Brees might just be that good that it's like, even among elite backs, there's this like exponential level that goes a little bit further. And I think Brees Hall might just be truly, truly special in a way that maybe Bijan is. I just don't think we've seen it yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's fine. I mean, we don't need to do the Brees Bijan thing. I kind of want to focus on this round 2 pick, but I think that's a fair take. I've heard that take from Perine and some others, that just Brees is going to be that exceptional from a talent perspective, and I think that's shown out at the NFL level. I don't know if you saw my tweet recently, but it's fascinating when you look at their college profiles, because Bijan is like substantially
I quoted
better.
it in my article. Actually.
There you go. I got to read yours. You got to read mine. We'll do this again sometime and discuss it a little more. But I thought this was interesting. I keep getting this response, and I doubt this is the extent of any of your points, but Brees doesn't have a good backup like Bijan does in Algier. And Spencer here says Braylon Allen erasure. I actually think Braylon Allen is the bigger concern than Algier. So that's kind of the interesting thing there. We got Kevin saying sprint to the podium in 1 pick. Kelsey went there.
Now I'm more conflicted. So pre-draft, we thought we were going to be taking a receiver at 6 because we didn't think Bijan would be there. I think we were pretty aligned on McBride. I'm still in on McBride, but I would be more inclined to consider like a London or a other wide receiver potentially, since we went running back. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I actually really don't mind the RB tight end start.
Okay.
I don't necessarily love Bijan London.
Oh, right.
As an
Yeah.
Atlanta start.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we
So
go
I
tight
don't
end
really-
because speaking of Atlanta, if we were pushing McBride, then we'd probably want a different tight end in 3, and then we're doing even more Atlanta. So
right. And the chat's saying
probably
Achane.
McBride.
Achane would have been in the
the running
discussion
back,
for us here if we went receiver, because we were kind of anticipating receiver pre-draft.
Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and click McBride here. I don't
I
think
only
you
want
wanna
to do
start-
RB if it's like a screaming value.
Right. And I would have loved to get an Achane share. That's one. We were talking about our exposures beforehand and how they flipped. We both really like Achane. You've been able to land him a few times. I have not yet. I've built a lot of Bijan and Brees teams, and as a result have not been taking the RB in the second. I do really like the RB tight end start here. And we were really both pre-draft thinking that it could be receiver tight end if McBride was available. We were pretty in conjunction there. The chat likes it. That's apparently who Kevin was talking about. That's who Henry was talking about. That's who Teague here was talking about.
Love it.
Sir Funkington wanted Nico. You had mentioned, floated that. We will see what happens.
Yeah, we can. I don't think we need to mention that name.
Guys that haven't been picked. Yeah. Chris Olave was one that I mentioned to you as well. As somebody that I want to get exposure to, he goes in the second in all these. You mentioned not being out on him, not necessarily being super high on him, but he goes in the second. So if you want to get him, you do got to get him in the second. He was a receiver that I would have been open to getting exposure to. All that kind of got thrown out the window. Like I was thinking of Jefferson Olave would have been kind of sick, but all that gets thrown out the window a little with Bijan. And then also in this room, getting the tight ends to slide a little. Kelsey finally goes 206. McBride 207.
Travis
really
Etienne.
nice.
I want to see some Kyron Williams. I want to see some Isaiah Pacheco. Let's go, boys. Derrick Henry.
Yeah. I actually didn't do this. This was Sean and Colm Kelly over on Rotoviz Overtime took him at pick 10. I believe. I don't know. I did 5 drafts with Sean on yesterday, and I can't remember how those all went. I'm pretty sure we didn't take a first round McBride, but we took several McBrides there too. I'm very exposed to Trey McBride, who, by the way, is about to have a monster season. You want to talk about a legendary season? We're going to see a legendary tight end season this year. I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm McBride's been my most drafted tight end in high stakes stuff too. Not quite as high in best ball, but he's been. Yeah, I've done the round 2 McBride now 3 times on the FFPC. He's my preference of those 4 round 2 tight ends for sure.
I did a ton of different types of contests in the best ball stuff, and
see you later, Travis. Nice pick.
I only ended up getting 100 BBMs done, and I was going through, and I did like 250 total drafts, and I was going through. I was tracking my total exposures at times, but I do them all slows, and so I can only check it in batches. And McBride's been my highest owned tight end the whole time. And then he was so cheap in the last run. And I thought I was going to wind up with so much that I was like intentionally not taking him because he slid late. Like he was going 4 or 5. And I was intentionally not taking some of him. Then I checked my BBM exposures because people were sending them all out on Twitter recently. Yeah. And I had like 101 drafts, I think it is. And my Kelsey or my McBride was like 15% or 17%. And I was like, what? Like I was at like 25 at one point. And I mean, I think it's because I was checking all my contests together. And so I just think I have a disproportionately low amount in BBMs compared to the rest of my profile. But it kind of annoyed me. I was like, I need more McBride. I don't have enough McBride, apparently. You wanted Nico there. That guy at the turn goes Nico.
He took 2 of my top 3 receivers there at the turn. And also probably overall? 2 of the 3 receivers. Well, 2 of the 3 remaining at that point. Yeah. But also probably two of the receivers that I think we're pretty aligned on. There's, I think, one other guy I would bet that we are probably mostly in agreement on. And then I think it's like a lot of the receivers that we don't really see eye to eye on. So I'm hoping we can get the guy that I think we both like.
I'm going to go in the private chat. I'm assuming you're talking about this guy, but I'm going to say, what about this guy?
Yeah, that's one of the guys we don't see eye to eye.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay, we've talked about that. And you don't like this guy either.
I'm okay with that guy at this price.
What about this move?
I like the first name better, but I like him too. Yeah.
Would
I like
4 be your second option? Because I'd be fine like one of the things you and I do align on, which like I don't necessarily always with Pat and Pete, is I'm always comfortable pulling guys up. Like those guys,
I don't care about ADP at all.
Yeah, you don't either. Like we'll just draft the dude that we think is the best pick. I think the fourth guy, if we're not aligned in the second guy, okay. And so Adams goes. Okay, it's Waddle then.
Let's just discuss it. Waddle's my pick, but if you want to make a case for Rice, I'll hear you.
No, let's just take Waddle.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry.
I just didn't want to. I was just gonna. Well, it's clearly Waddle here, right? I think Debo was a reasonable. Debo's the one that we disagree on. I think Debo's a reasonable pick. You're out on that.
I mean, no, I'm not out on being reasonable, but I'm definitely out on him being.
I'm not out on being reasonable. Oh, on him being reasonable.
Yeah,
I thought you said I'm not out on being reasonable. And I was
like, no. Like if I was watching you draft and you took Debo here, I'd be like, oh yeah, good pick, Ben. But it wouldn't be like it wouldn't be my preference. Like I prefer the other receiver on his team pretty solidly.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of hope he goes before the middle of the fourth because I mean,
you wouldn't want to take him in the middle of the fourth.
No.
3.0 yards per route run receiver.
I mean, can I finish? I was gonna say I wouldn't be out on that. Like that's what I go. Oh, I was like, I wouldn't be out on that. Is what I was gonna say. But I don't. I feel like at most points this offseason, he's been overvalued, and I think the people who are taking him in the second early in the offseason,
which was not me, by the way. I was out on that price.
I mean, and I was saying the whole time he doesn't belong in the second. Then he fell, and then I heard a lot of people go, okay, he's signed. He's going to go right back to the second, and he hasn't because I think like that was just that anchoring bias that we get on Underdog a lot, like with the best ball stuff. It's like, this is his price, so it has to be his price. But people were looking for a reason to drop him down. And then when he started to hold out, he fell, or the trade stuff came out, whatever, he fell. And now it's like, he didn't actually belong in the second, which is, I think, the evidence we're getting from the market right now. And anyway, my point is just a market-based one that I think for some people, he looks like a clear value in this range. And I think he just sort of belongs in this range. I would be in on him at 407. Like that's far enough for sure.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a centrist. Like I draft a lot with Liam, and he was one of the ones that was like actively clicking him in the early second. I'm not quite to that extent. Like at the time that before any of this concern came out, like in the stasis stage, I wasn't very in on either of the 49ers receivers at their cost. I was at like 1% Debo and 2% Ayuk. And then once Ayuk fell, I just think I was less behind the market on his initial price than you were. So to me, once he fell, I was like, great, I'm going to smash him. Whereas I think to you, that was a little bit more like now he's appropriately
in
priced.
Line. Right.
He's been a guy where, especially in this like high stakes stuff, where he's just been consistently available in the fourth. I viewed that as a priority selection. I've been clicking him a ton, and I view that as a price where like I'm not even worried about my exposure if I'm getting him in the fourth. Like I want him on half my teams in the fourth.
This is a great point too. It's a little anchoring bias. He thinks it's also a lot that he missed all at camp, and I do think this is a really good point. Rashid Rice does go 310 here. That team might be a little bit of a problem for us. Rice was the other guy that we were aligned on and had no problem bringing up, but that I started talking over Jakob, right? Because I was like,
that's fair.
There's probably still rooms where he can fall well into the fourth as well, but he goes ahead of Debo.
Not as often anymore, but certainly can happen.
But this is a great point on Ayuk, and it is something that I do think is impacting his cost. I think I'm overstating that it's as cut and dry as everyone believes he always belonged lower down, because the bet has changed. And I think there are a lot of people that have acknowledged that as well, including myself. Yep. I think that's a big thing that I've been concerned about. And you're right that I was lower, but also I'm lower than I was now, because this dude, I said this a bunch of times in August, but like this, I was saying this time last year, but let's say July 31st last year, early in camp, everyone was talking up Ayuk. He was completely locked in. He showed up in the best shape of his life. Debo was saying you can't guard him in a phone booth. Coaches were saying, I can't believe how great Ayuk looks and how committed he is right now. Reporters were like, he's the best player on the team. And then he went on to have a 3.0 yards per out run year. This year, he's been disgruntled. He hasn't signed. He clearly made a decision weeks ago that he wasn't going to take the Steelers thing because he had that on the table. If he was going to take that and take the extra money, he would have taken
it. Not sure Team 10's a subscriber after all.
Yeah, that's not the fit that I thought we were going to get there. If he was going to take the trade, he was going to take it. Instead, he was like, you know what? I'm taking less money to stay here because I think it's pretty clear that he would have got a little bit more if he would have went to Pittsburgh or wherever. He's taking less money, but he's like, I'm not going to show up to camp. I'm going to just take the rest of camp off because I don't have to do shit anyway. And so he did that.
Yeah.
But where's his head at? He's been in Shanahan's doghouse before. There's been issues with his work ethic in those seasons and at those times. And so that's reported, rumors of that. I'm mildly concerned. It's a part of the equation. I can't believe Debo went 404.
Yeah. And for the record, if Debo is there at 4.7, you would have gotten zero pushback from me on that. I would have been happy to hit the button there.
There's a few pretty wild things occurring.
Yeah. There's another guy that I don't even like, but
we got a hello from Surrey. That's one of your
hell yeah
Canadian friends.
Yeah, that's just a brief little 45 minutes or so away.
So Ken Walker was one that I was thinking maybe trying to push in the 4th round to you, but
there's a few interesting picks here.
There's several interesting picks here. Okay,
I missed the pick. I thought that I was going to be trying to force an Ayuk pick on you here, but there's enough other picks that I really like here that I'm pretty open-minded if you want to go in a different direction. So number 5 in the queue would be my top guy in a vacuum, but I don't know how well he fits with our other players.
I just moved him to the top. Did I just move him to the top?
I have to. Well, we just use the private chat.
He's not coming back. I'm talking about Kyle Pitts, and I think we have to.
Yeah, that's the same guy I was talking about. Yeah, I think he's just such a clear pick that we
have to take on. I was going to pound the table for him, but you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is insane.
That'd be my pick.
I would have been very open to taking him at 306. We have not been able to get him on ship chasing or anywhere else. Whenever we pick in the late 3s, he always goes like 303. We're always so annoyed. Yeah, so Henry says if you knew Pitts would have been there, you could have gone wide receiver in round 2. The problem with this is we would have taken Pitts in round 3 if we went receiver in round 2.
Yeah.
We would never have gotten Pitts in round 4 in this scenario.
Exactly.
Because we would have been like, all right, Pitts it is. Like, I would have been stoked that he made it to 306. I would have been concerned he would go like 305 or 303 because we've seen that a lot in our rooms. 407. I wouldn't even have dreamed of it.
Yeah, like if we took like Collins or something at the 2.7, then it's just auto Pitts at 4. So we didn't need to take him on the reach there, and then we got very lucky for it. Yeah. Feels fucking great.
And there was, Ayuk would have been a nice pick there, as we talked about. I would have been very open to it. Mike Evans makes it all the way back. I have him as a fade, but I have him in that same tier with Ayuk.
That's the guy I was talking about where I said, like, there's a guy I don't like, but it's weird that he's here. Yeah, that was
right.
The Evans.
And then DJ Moore is all 3 of these guys that come off right after Pitts are all reasonable picks in this range that I would have been fine with ultimately because we needed a receiver as well. One of the rules of like main events, when you play enough of these high stake contests that I've learned over the years of doing it, is you don't get values like this and you cannot pass them up. You have if it's a guy you like and you're like, hi, just doesn't fit the build. We took Trey McBride 207. Like, it's just no. You take him and you're like, I have a unique thing because it doesn't happen a lot. Like it'll in BBMs and stuff like that. Crazy stuff will happen a lot of different times. That's the rule in main events. Exciting players don't fall like this. It just doesn't.
No.
I don't know if this is the latest he's gone, but it would not surprise me. And it's
the latest he's gone in any draft that I've participated in at any dollar amount on FFPC. That's for sure. Because, that was tremendous.
That's a fun one. I was mentioning to you, these late night drafts are sometimes kind of fun. People get a little looser Saturday night. I was wondering if we'd get some. We just landed Kyle Pitts at 407. I'm moonwalking out here.
It feels pretty darn good. Yeah, that was.
Probably we'll look like idiots at the end of the day. So Kyle Pitts in main events, I got the latest he's gone at 48. God,
this guy at 1 is really dialed in. Like he's every single pick has been like just right off of my ranks.
The latest Pitts has gone apparently in the entirety of the time is, oh no, I've got this just for the last couple weeks. He's gone as late as 48. So what about the whole draft period in the mains? Still, okay, so 48's the latest he's gone, but it was just in these last couple weeks he went 48 one time.
I've seen some tight ends slipping, man. I saw Ron Stewart was doing a draft this afternoon that I checked in on for a moment, and it wasn't one of the mains. It was one of the 350s, but he got Pitts in the it was like, I think the 410 or something. And then he came around and he added Kittle in the 5-3, who ended up being a triple tight end team because he had Kincaid already.
Main events, he's gone 48 actually twice in the whole time. I'm looking at the graph here. I'm just going to present the RotoViz graph. These two dots down here are 48. And then there's a dot right here that's 45 on the nose. There's a 44 here. We got him 43. We got there's like
we're at the low end.
Yeah. There's like maybe 3 or 4. Now, where did I put the draft board? There it is.
And I think he's really underpriced at his ADP. So I'm pretty excited to get him substantially after that.
We got him within a few picks of his lowest, and there's only a few. Tyler with the super chat, $2.69 in Tyler's classic fashion. Hit the like, faux these handsome gents and alpha. This guy works at NASA. Good Lord.
Hell yeah.
Learn some English.
Two guys to me at the top of the queue, I think are good ways above anybody else. I don't know if anyone else you like. I like the old man here.
Yeah. Okay. We're very on the same page. You're talking about Stephon Diggs.
That's correct. Yeah.
You
are the only person that I know in the industry who likes Stephon Diggs as much as I do. I bullied Liam and Ron into a Stephon Diggs pick in a draft earlier.
That was big.
And was made fun of relentlessly. I'm pumped to get Diggs here. I think he's a fantastic pick in the 5th.
Yeah, he's a whole tier up. He's, for me, in that tier with Ayuk and DJ Moore and Evans that I was saying it would have been nice to dip into, but we took Pitts. We still get a player in that tier.
I have him ranked. I'm going to pull up my ranks. I have him ranked probably 2 full rounds higher than this. I have him. This isn't tight end premium, so it would be a little bit lower in premium, but I have him ranked 28th overall. So even tight end premium, I'd have him in the mid 3rd.
Right.
That was huge.
That was big. I'm right there with you. I think he belongs. Yeah, I think he belongs in that, like DK Metcalf's in that tier for me. I think he belongs, and I have Pittman lower, significantly lower. I think he belongs at that 3-4 turn there. You have Metcalf and Pittman going. That's to me what Stephon Diggs, the range that he needs to be in.
Yeah. I have Pittman lower as well. I even have Metcalf a tier below Diggs. I have Diggs in a tier with Evans, with Kupp, who I'm pretty low on, Smith, DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, Tank Dell, and T. Higgins. Yeah, Diggs at the 5. Pretty crazy. We get.
This is nice. Kyle makes a great point here. There's multiple other 2 tight end starts as well. We've got the 2 tight end start. Put some pressure on that position for other drafters. We obviously need to come back a little bit at receiver. That's why the Diggs pick was so crucial. Naturally, the Huskies just scored their first touchdown of the season. Nice. Oh, there's another flag. They had already scored one earlier that got called back. That's going to suck if that goes back. Anyway.
Pitts is basically a receiver on this team, but nice to have 2 real receivers also.
Yeah. And Waddle's a little bit banged up. All right, that was a defensive penalty. Waddle's a little bit banged up right now. We don't know the extent of it. And so Ferguson and Bowers both go early in this room. Bowers often goes in the 6th, which is fine.
I'm glad that we got 2 early tight ends because if this is the only team construction in which I wouldn't be depressed watching Brock Bowers come off the board. So,
exactly. Yeah. I'm thank God that I'm not when that happens on this construction, I'm yes. I don't have to think through Bowers.
Yeah, and if he was there at 6'7", I still would have been hey,
you still would have thought about taking
3 tight ends on FFPC.
So this is great. Yeah, but the Waddle thing I was going to say, and the other part of it is a little bit of a contingency bet. We agree that there's so much upside if Tyreek misses time. But if Tyreek doesn't miss time, there are some scenarios where Waddle, is a little bit more of a secondary and a little hit or miss on a weekly basis. And potentially Diggs is some of that too. But Diggs has been an alpha target earner for basically every year of his career. You go look at his targets per out run profile. You add in the ADOT, you look at weighted targets per out. The reason his yards per out run has bounced around a little has typically been yards per target driven, which tends to fluctuate. He's a really emotional player. People think he's going to be a cancer. I think he's going to be really highly motivated in a great spot this year. He's on a 1-year deal. All the camp reports have been great. He looked good in the little bit of preseason that we saw. I mean, he could be right there competing with Collins for the most targets on this team. He's a guy where I think there's going to be volume every week because that's his whole career. I don't think he's going to be as high as he was in Buffalo in terms of targets per out run and all of that, but it shows an ability to earn volume in different roles, at different depths, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, people are worried about the way last year closed for Buffalo. I mean, obviously he wasn't happy. His brother was tweeting stuff during the season. I mean, it was very clear that there were some issues and the offense had changed. And then they got rid of him in the offseason. I just found
someone higher on Javonte Williams than you, Ben.
Wow. Yeah. Also you. I think you're as high as I am.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
That would have been a guy that we could have taken in the 7th. But
7th would have been good, yeah.
Anyway, enough
safe
digs.
to say, just anytime there's a team like number 11, you can always lock in Amari Cooper to be the first wide receiver they take. He's just a fixture.
That is a.
He will also be drafting Jakobi
We got Jewish
Myers
McCaffrey in the chat.
Minutes.
He's having a hard time filling his 151st sprint in the chat. I don't have Diggs the same tier as Cup. He was not one of the names that I mentioned there. Cup's,
you like Cup more than I do for sure. I'm
have
Sam Sherman Island on that one. Yeah, that was the one that he was digging me on that.
Yeah, got it. I missed that. Yeah, we are feeling great here. I'm glad the chat is liking it. I always feel like a dork when we're just sitting on stream having a good time, but I mean, this is falling well. I'm glad we got this going.
Yeah, I don't think that we're gonna get the guy we want in this round. If we do, it'd be a treat. But there's some guys in behind that we can maybe pull up a little bit that we like.
I mean, things have happened. I don't think it's going to happen either, but I'm letting myself get.
You never know. You never know. I was in a I won't spoil it, but I'll say it after we pick. But yeah, this team has been firing here, especially the way this has worked out with all these tight ends and receivers. I think we got a real treat with Bijan at the 1-6 because I don't think there's been a running back we've remotely considered since, right?
No, yeah, I mean, I guess it could have been Achane over McBride in 2, but
right, it could have been Achane. Yeah, you're right.
But we would have had to do it over McBride, which was, I think, we ultimately probably
pre-show.
We were on Jefferson there. I think we still would have taken McBride, and then we would have taken Waddle. Excuse me, and I think we would have taken Pitts. We'd just be on a 0 RB track right now, which should be fine.
Which is fine,
but
nice to get Bijan there, and I mean. Think, all right, this is the big pick for us right here.
I'm like, don't even hit.
I wasn't gonna say it.
This is, I mean, it's gotta be. He's already.
You never know.
He's already got Kelsey.
You never know. Draft I did with Davis today. We had a Josh Allen team. We were sweating Dalton Kincaid. He took Evan Ingram. So you never know.
So let's start the what if. I just moved a guy to second in the queue that you didn't even have in the queue. Is that a play you would ever make, or are you out on that?
Let me refresh the queue.
I mean, didn't snap him. He's 50 seconds into this.
I thought
he ran the whole clock down just to break our back.
All right, that was annoying.
I think he enjoyed that.
Yeah, I see the guy you moved up there. I think that's a fine pick.
On this team, I feel like it's a real volume play. It's kind of like the Amari comment that you made a minute ago, but also we could kind of use that. We have a lot of upside built into the roster already.
Yeah,
we can talk about it. I don't think it's coming back. It's Deontae Johnson. I think Deontae Johnson has so much potential for target volume.
You think he's the better version of that bet than Godwin? I think so, right?
I think so. I think
Deontay's fine. I think there's 4 receivers that I would all kind of have in the next tier. I bet we get at least one of them in 7.
That's what I'm thinking.
So let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Deontae's the harder one to see come back. And then I think we're going to be able to get the other type of receiver into our build after this. So Deontae's, I think, a fun pick there. Gives us some stability.
I like drafting Diggs and Deontae with you as well because I like those type of players. But most of the people that I draft with would rather donate a body part to science than draft Deontae Johnson.
They'd rather draft fun players. Yeah, I mean, I somehow
you're the only
got Sean
person I regularly stream with that would make that kind of pick with me, so I like it.
Yeah, I made Sean draft one Deontae the other day, and I think it killed him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if I tried to ask Davis to draft Deontae today, I would have been immediately moved from the stream.
That's right. Davis absolutely hates him. I don't understand why, but
I like Deontae Johnson. You're just
Jewish McCaffrey said, "Aren't you contractually obligated to take J7 over Deontae?" I mean, sort of, yes. And he's probably going to go on the turn here.
Here's the little secret about Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's also just kind of a low A volume earner, so he's just kind of a slightly worse Deontae Johnson.
Maybe he could be Deontae Johnson.
Yeah.
Deontae Johnson earns so much volume. I don't think people, it's going to be fascinating to see if Bryce Young can actually play up to a certain level, but all the reports in camp were Canales is saying we're building the pass offense around him. Conceptually, it's where's Deontae? I like to build an offense around a player. He's that player.
Yeah.
All the beat reports are basically they're on the same page. He's always open. Bryce gets him the ball constantly. And that's been his whole career. That's who Deontae Johnson is. You look at his open scores, he's a beast. You look at his reception perceptions, he's a beast. You look at his targets per out run, he's a beast. Go back to college. Elite in college. I mean, he's just always open. Okay. 6th round. Targets are really important.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Nez got this. Deontae and Man is just so good.
I think he's good in best ball too. I mean, I
like this take too. He's last year's Keenan is a great way of putting it. A little bit undervalued route runner. People don't think he can be efficient. Keenan was wide receiver 3 in points per game. I don't know that he's quite on Keenan's level, especially on the efficiency side. Keenan, I think, adds a little bit more after earning the target. But Deontae can volume.
Speaking of guys we got picked in this 6th round, honestly.
Yeah. Fat Keenan's on the board.
Yeah. There it goes. So the one drafter was definitely living in the RotoViz stealing signals type universe here for sure.
Yeah, he was,
which is honestly pretty rare. I find most of the time in my rooms that the 101 Christian McCaffrey drafter just absolutely murders his team. Ron is in the chat trolling me. Brock Bowers is not available when we took Deontae Johnson, so not an applicable analogy there, Ronald.
If Deontay's a good managed pick, Terry's a great one. You wanted to take Terry? I think Terry McLaurin's
this was draftable. So this all comes from one of the 2 drafts that I did with Ron and Liam, where I got 2v1'd, where I wanted to take Brock Bowers, and they 2v1 me to take Terry McLaurin, and I had a minor meltdown on stream, and we've been arguing about it ever since.
You should duck, Ron. You're not going to find a sympathetic ear on that one, man. You guys took Terry over Bowers? Did you have a tight end yet?
We did. We did have Mark.
You just wanted another one. Yeah.
I just wanted Brock Bowers, to be honest.
Yeah. So the guy you have at the top for me would be 3rd. Are you pretty in on him?
Yeah. I'm definitely open-minded to him. One thing I like about him is he brings in, although this would be true of actually all the guys we have in the queue, would bring in a good stacking option.
True.
I think based on who we took last pick, I'm probably not quite as into number 3.
Right.
My favorite.
I want to do here, 2, kind of.
Yeah, that would be my pick as well.
Okay.
If he was to go, then I would be number 1.
Okay.
He doesn't go. So
he didn't go. You're right. I said I had the guy at the top 3rd. I agree with the point you were making. If you would have went, you would have got me on the guy at the top. But we're both Roma Dunze here, right?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. That would be my pick.
Yeah, we would have been fine there if Adunze went, because the point you just made about I don't think you want to do Deontae and Keenan. That's enough low A target earning. All right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so
it is weird to take Adunze over Fat Keenan though. Like, the thing about Keenan is, I mean, while he's fat, he also had an incredible targets per out run last year.
While he's fat.
He was, again, third in fantasy points per game last season. This is the middle of the 7th round. Like,
yeah, I mean, if we
probably should go ahead of Deontae.
If we took Diggs followed by Deontae followed by Keenan, like this stream would be sponsored by Establish the Run.
Shots fired. No, but seriously, like,
Keenan Allen, team, by the way, but
Keenan Allen probably belongs in the 5th. Like, he probably belongs ahead of Amari Cooper, and I think definitely ahead of George Pickens. Like, he's probably
ahead of Calvin Ridley.
It's kind of wild. He just falls and falls, but I have so much of him that I'm like, all right, well, I want to get a Rome Dunes this year.
Yeah. Plus, you're watching the Huskies game, man. I mean, what's better than drafting a Husky while watching the Huskies?
I'm saying. I got the Husky fever going right now. They're only up 7-0 in the second quarter against Weber State. They only returned 2 starters from last year's national championship team. First team to reach the national championship and not be ranked to start the next year. It's a new era, new coaching staff.
Yeah.
I'm obviously intrigued by how things might look and everything, but I mean, it's Weber State, so I'll watch it back later.
It's a big pivot within college football, but have you seen Tet McMillan's stat line so far today?
Yeah. So
there's 4 minutes left in the second quarter. He has 5 for 199 and 3 already.
Oh, we already got 3. I saw 2 on the first 2 drives.
He's up to 200 yards and 3 touchdowns with 4 minutes left in the second quarter. And they're tied against New Mexico. So they're going to have to keep passing. Tied. 600 yards.
He's going to have
24-24 in that game.
He's so good. He's huge and somehow very fluid. Brian Thomas just went ahead of Keenan Allen. Like, what? We're in the twilight zone, guys. I think Brian Thomas is a really fun pick.
I figured the 10-hole would do that to us. I would have really liked that if that came back, but too bad.
Kyler with McBride would have been fun, yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of thought that was going to happen there at 10.
Steph.
Yeah, I agree with you. Brian Thomas over Keenan is not it. And I like Brian Thomas. Hey, Steph. How's it going?
I was about to say it's funny to see the young blood fantasy slowly turn into Evan Silva. I think that was a shot at me. I think at one point I was a young blood. I've been noticing it. I'm becoming a boomer. You're still very young, Jacob. You got a few years ahead of you before you become.
I just advanced 2 years at the Deontae Johnson selection. So.
That's right.
Wow, even the guy who starts no wide receivers through 5 is taking rookies ahead of Keenan Allen.
That's weird.
That's how you know it's really Jover.
What I mean, it's just like we have to have like respect for the market at this point, right? Like, somebody knows something. He's definitely old, right? Okay, so riddle me this or answer this theoretical.
Yeah.
Because I saw some people breaking down his routes. QB School was doing it. JT O'Sullivan, he does awesome work on QBs.
He just took Khalil Shakir ahead of Keenan Allen, by the way.
What the fuck? He apparently hasn't played in the preseason since like 2019.
Keenan Allen on the board, or was he picked 2 rounds ago and I didn't notice?
Was he just not trying in the preseason? Is that
probably just not trying? He's like an old guy at a job, like he's just mailing it in. Like that's I feel like what people do in the preseason.
But then like in season, he had the freaking highest targets per run of his career last year. Like what am I missing?
And the thing is, it's only because of the fast stuff. Like I watched,
reception perception better than me.
School stuff. Yeah.
Did he have a bad reception perception?
No, he actually had declined a little bit the previous year, and then he actually came back up a little bit last year.
That's what I see in the targets per run stuff. He was strong last year. It was a career high targets per run, 27.5%.
He had an elite open score last year. He was top 5 in open score.
And someone said he was fat in camp. Someone who hasn't covered him his whole career, by the way.
And if you watch
that's the other thing. It's like a Chicago beat. They've never covered him. They don't know his offseason. They don't know how he shows up every year.
Like, they didn't say, like, he's fat and slow and bad. They said it's great that the Bears have such size in their wide receiver room. DJ Moore's 210. Keenan's 230. Like that was how he phrased it. He wasn't like Keenan looks slow and bad. He was just saying, like, wow, look at the Bears. They got a lot of size. Like it was fat Keenan brackets complimentary. Like, that was like how it was.
Non-derogatory.
Yeah, Harmon is on a doomsday over Keenan straight up, and I know he hasn't been in on him this year, but I don't. To me, like, the way I've read that is that's like a Harmon take, but that's not.
Well, Harmon's really into a doomsday.
Yeah, so I'm not like I mean, all respect to Matt on that. Like, that's what I was seeing in the comments. Was like he said he's overrated this year. I have seen that, but I don't think that necessarily lines up with the data.
Keenan's reportedly up to 280 and will be participating in the upcoming Underdog Hot Dog eating contest.
Oh. I mean, we might just get him here. That would be insane.
We got to take him.
Well, for sure. I would take him enthusiastically.
Yeah. This says Sean was taking him in the early 5th and on Underdog in June, July. I was too. I don't know if I ever really talked to him much. I thought
we're one away.
In the chat, did he die? Did Keenan Allen die? Oh my God. But so the other guy that you put in the queue is also there, dude. We're getting one of them.
Either one of them is going to be an insane pick in this spot.
What the fuck?
Okay, so I'm fine either way. Like, I think Keenan's an unreal value here. I also think Jayden Reed's an unreal value.
Jayden Reed is also an unreal value here. We could do the double stack.
The question is basically, do you want to leave ourselves open for 2 stacks, or do we want to go all in on one team? I think both are great picks, so I don't even care.
I want you to break the tie. I wanted the room to break the tie. Same. I don't think you can pass up Keenan here because personally, I'm a little bit less.
I think we go Keenan I think we go Keenan because of the value on him. But Reed is such a good pick here too.
Reed's a really good pick here too.
Maybe my tie break is Reed because it gives us 2 stack outs. I think that's maybe the tie break, but I feel terrible leaving Keenan on the board here. I kind of want to.
Cool. We got smart people in the chat saying Reed and Keenan. I appreciate you guys for making us be honest. What are you saying? We have 5 seconds.
Keenan.
I was thinking you were gonna say Reed.
I was literally torn, and I have you read? There goes Reed. Have you read
behind us? What the hell?
Have you read On the Edge, the new Nate Silver book?
I have not.
There was just a whole chapter on like randomizing. So they're talking about like how like poker players determine like what they do. You just like look to the nearest number and you just like assign even or odd. I was legitimately torn, and so I just said if I see an odd number on my clock, I'm taking Keenan. If it's an even number, I'm taking Reed. So it was an odd number.
You saw an odd number. We literally flipped a coin. I mean, it was 2 incredible values there. That was.
Yeah, I almost wish that the room decided because it would have felt like winning the lottery, getting either, and then it was like kind of a bummer that we had to choose.
I know exactly. I did that. That was where I was like, I'm making you do it. I think that Reed was maybe better for the build for the reasons we talked about with Deontae, but Keenan was maybe better for everything we talked about when we took Pitts. Like, you can't just give up 807 Keenan, but also 807 Jayden Reed's got to be.
The other thing that I do think though is like not to like in managed, right? We're only going to be starting like 5 total, or 5 total of the wide receiver, or I guess just 6 total of these like wide receiver tight end group, right? Unless Caleb's bad, which I don't think he's going to be, then I feel like you almost can't lose between having one of Rome in the 7th and Keenan in the 8th. Like I feel like one of those picks has to be a smash. And then we also get the benefit where if we get in the sprint, we can potentially like play them off each other. I think that there's fun ways to play that by having both on the team.
There is, but I do think I think I wish we would have went Reed for the reasons that you were saying about another stack option.
Yeah.
I thought Keenan's ADP was meaningfully higher. I just looked in the last 2 weeks. It is a half of a pick higher than Reed's. So both of them falling
higher too.
It's 76.3 and 76.8. He's 1 spot ahead of Reed. So
yeah, I mean, maybe that was the better pick. I don't know. I mean, obviously I was extremely torn, and obviously so were you. We were really running that down to the final second there.
Right. I don't think we did anything wrong. Well, so this is what's fascinating. Look at this. So Keenan was ahead of Reed meaningfully, right. 10 picks or so, all the way up
matters
until
a little bit. as a tiebreaker.
And this isn't even when the report came out. This is like, I mean, is it? I thought the report came out like in early August. It's like just mid-August. Okay, we're just gonna send Keenan on a straight downward spiral for some reason.
Well, there was the report, and then there was the training camp, and then there was the QB school. The QB school thing is so funny because people are just so selective. Like I haven't watched all the QB schools, so maybe he does this to a ton of dudes. But I obviously watched the Colts ones, and he dogs Michael Pittman constantly for like dogging it on routes and like the same stuff that he's saying about Keenan. But like, since Michael Pittman's young, I don't think anyone's conclusion watching that is like Michael Pittman's fat and slow. It's like Michael Pittman didn't give a shit about running his routes well in preseason, right? So it doesn't become a story. But you get like, the one story about, oh, Keenan Allen's been hanging out at Pequod's, and then you get another one on, he's dogging it in the preseason, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's fat and slow. I don't know. I mean, it's tough because we're like doing the what if game about Reed or Keenan, and I agree, like there was good reasons to look at Reed there, but I do think like if we woke up today and someone handed us the start through 8, we would feel like Christmas morning.
Yeah, no, of course. I'm not gonna second guess the pick. Kevin had it right. He said truly Sophie's really choice.
Fun pick here.
Like it was truly Sophie's choice. Like there was like two very strong picks there. I think I had spent the last round talking about how Keenan Allen last year had the best targets per round of his career. You were talking about how Harmon really liked his profile, but is Adunze over him? We'd already taken Adunze 12 picks earlier, right? Like, it's not like we're reaching on Keenan Allen here.
This is also an interesting spot. I think that there is, so obviously we have a certain quarterback who's very good for the build. But I think that we do have some cover on him. And I do think that there's a player at the queue that would mean a lot for this team.
I only see 2 players in the queue. I'm going to refresh.
Well, the one I put in that's not the quarterback would be the pick for me. I don't know if there's another player you like.
I thought I put him in because I also pushed to put him in the queue, and I was going to talk to you about him.
Oh, okay. The other option would be, I guess, the receiver, but I like the running back more.
No, the running back I was going to put in the queue and see if we should push the QB. There's 3 guys on that side who don't have a QB, but none of them. DJ Moore's behind us.
Yeah, and there's still Dak, and there's still Burrow, and there's still
you're the back.
I'm the running back.
Yeah, Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, you're with that.
I am. I think that's a really big pick there too. If we lose Caleb, we lose Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, it would suck to lose him, but I do think.
This picture's from when I was actually at the national championship I was just talking about, and I had a mustache. I grew out the stash once the Huskies started doing good. I was like, I'll shave it after their season's over. They made it all the way to the championship. Had a beautiful stash. But yeah, so, I'm never rocking the stash in the actual video.
Number 9 is probably going to take Burrow, right? You'd think. With Chase.
9's a Burrow pick. I could see either 11 or 12 doing it. But just based on the way they drafted, I don't think they care about stacking. It very well might not come back.
11, I think I don't think we should be like reading rational drafting into 11, right? Like they took fucking Khalil Shakir.
Right. So, and then there's also 2 more, like you said, both Love and Dak go ahead of Caleb, and we can just talk about Caleb because everyone knows who we're talking about.
Yeah, we're not. We're not.
It would be a little bit of a reach. Like that's
9 doesn't pushing this. Burrow.
A lot of people would be like, you have to take Caleb now. You took both Adunze and Keenan. And part of the reason for taking Reed there would have been that making this push would have sent both Love and Caleb that direction. But Love does go meaningfully higher than Caleb, about 20 picks in the applet here. I don't know about that.
I mean, I think that's really big for us. 9 doesn't go Burrow. 11 and 12 have no stats. So if they take any quarterback, I think they would go Burrow. And then I don't know that Team 9, if it comes back to them and Burrow's gone, like they might just push quarterback. They could also take Purdy. They could just wait and play for Lawrence.
Touchdown, Washington. Sorry.
Ron, you are correct. Like the Boomers do not care about stacks.
Right. This is definitely something that can happen.
Team 11's team, right? Like Team 11 is like their
so here's the question. Four of the 5 drafters on the other side have elite QBs. One took Daniels.
All 4 have elite quarterback.
Do you push it the other direction too? I don't think you do.
Depends on who's there. There would have to be someone really enticing.
Yeah. I don't think I want to. And by the way, for anyone confused, I am looking at the ADP and everything. Our next pick is about 4 to 5 picks ahead of his ADP. And there's still 3 QBs above him in the queue. So, like, those are the reasons we didn't snap him up. Jonathan Brooks completely agreed with the way you put that. Really big for the build. It's a Bijan Robinson anchor team, but everything else is sorted out. We feel really good about receiver. We feel really good about tight end. Obviously, we have 2. And Brooks gives us this late season hammer at RB2. Like, we could cobble together RB2 with some of our other picks that we're going to make down the stretch. But now you look at our starting lineup in the sprint. If we can get there, it's going to be one of the tight ends, potentially the other one in flex. There's a lot of wide receiver firepower there, man. And then you have Bijan. It's a really exciting.
Pitts is basically like a wide receiver on this team. So Keenan is like our wide receiver 6, which is like,
it's crazy.
Nuts.
He can be fat, and he still makes sense.
Hey, and you know what? If he's fat, we can cut him.
Exactly. We can cut him. We don't need him. It's great for a doomsday. This is just an insurance policy.
This is the big pick here. If this guy somehow passes on Burrow, I think we're home free because there's no way 9 would take Caleb ahead of Burrow.
Well, I mean, I don't want to. You never want to say never. One of these other guys,
unless he's a complete moron. Yeah, he takes Gus Edwards because that's the kind of pick.
One of these, this guy could take another QB. Like, let's just like this is like what Ron said is also they're liable to take 2 QBs back to back, or they're liable to take a backup early.
You'd hope that the Mahomes and Hurts teams wouldn't, but you truly never know.
Nez thinks we dodged a bullet with 12 taking Love. Love's going ahead of Caleb by about 20 picks.
I don't think he means that Love is a bad pick. I think he means that we would have wanted Love to go there, not Caleb.
Wait, what?
Like, I don't think he means that Love is like a silly pick for 12, but I think we are.
That's what I'm saying.
We're better seeing him go Love because then it pushes Burrow to the guy with Chase, and then we're more likely to get Caleb. Is the way I'm reading that comment.
I feel like this is a really obvious calculated gamble. I don't feel like we're dodging a bullet, I guess. Yeah. It's maybe an aggressive way of thinking about it. I feel like if we didn't hit on this, then whatever. That is what it is. Oh, the Keenan over Reed thing maybe is part of it. Because now at this point with Love going off, we would actually prefer probably potentially getting.
Yeah, if we get Caleb, then I would just rather have had Keenan have him double stacked up, right? I think that's the.
This guy could take Caleb. These FFPC drafters don't care about stacks, man.
I mean, if he takes Caleb, then we'll take 10th round Burrow. Like, that's fine. Yeah. Anyway, he takes Burrow. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. We could have taken. So now with Love and Burrow both off, and I don't see anything else we have to do here.
Yeah, this is the pick. I don't think it's worth getting cute, and because like especially the team taking Jayden Daniels, I feel like would be very liable to double tap, and then also the team with Lamar has DJ Moore, and they might look at it and go, "Hey, I've solved whatever I need to solve here, and I'm gonna get myself a stack because he has an unstacked Lamar. He might want Caleb.
These guys have made some interesting. Okay, so Conklin, another interesting pick. This guy's made some interesting picks too. I'm sweating it. I don't know if you are, but I am.
No, I'm cool as a cucumber right now.
Oh, bad joke.
This guy understands stacking. He's got Mahomes triple stacked.
Oh no, I still don't get it. Oh, he said, okay, yeah. He said 12's clearly out of pocket. That's what I thought he meant. So he could have went anyone unstacked. But 11's the one that's been really out of pocket with like the Khalil stuff.
Jewish McCaffrey said, just found out why Keenan fell. FFPC is reportedly changing his positional eligibility to O-lineman.
That's good.
Yeah. That was a good Taysom Hill joke. It's a good joke.
Our buddy Kaz here's got to push it for what? There's nothing to push it for here.
There's nobody that
and
I
actually
see in the queue
so in the applet,
his
ADP is 119. But I was kind of mentioning this that his ADP and the applet ADP is not always great. And so you got Fantasy Mojo, you got Rotoviz, you got these other sources that you can check as well. Over at Rotoviz in the last 2 weeks, Caleb's ADP is actually 111 instead of 119.
Also,
we are picking
like
at
it's me and you. Like, who's at the top of the fucking ADP? We're not taking Jacoby Myers. Like, let's do Caleb Williams.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is 108, 109, 10. The Dalton Schultz pick is 111. We're at 115. The applet was showing 119. So the applet was telling me 10, 11, and I was saying, well, our next pick is still 4 picks ahead of ADP. In reality, Caleb's ADP was actually 4 picks before ADP. We just pushed it and needed a slide that we got.
This team fucks so incredibly hard.
It does.
So we are so we have 5 receivers, but we kind of really have
they're crowning our asses.
I think they just talked about that's because Nick Costatino's in the chat.
Oh. Damn it. I thought they were crowning.
You want to crown them? You can crown their ass because the Bears are who we thought they were.
Yeah, we got the Bears stack. I thought they were I thought Ball's Life was saying we're the champ, but instead it's our guy from Go Bills.
Nick, we're not going to be answering that question.
I would not have wanted that, but I will say that he's in the queue.
And we're all looking for the guy who put him there.
I am pretty out on that at this moment. I moved him down.
I'm about 50-50 on takes that I agree with Gratch and takes that I agree with Perine, and that one I'm in the Perine bucket.
Well, I was like okay with his argument before they went and signed somebody, but just signing anyone, whether or not Dalvin's bad. Book. No, I'm saying whether or not Dalvin's bad, it does meaningfully change the way that they're viewing him. Rico. And like they've still talked about him favorably, but if they're bringing someone in, it's like, okay, well, they're not that sold.
Right? Yeah, could be. I think that would have been the guy I would have wanted most, and he just goes there.
That was the guy that I wanted to. Anyone who's watched like mine and Sean's marathon yesterday, I think we took him in about 4 of the 5 drafts.
Damn it. I really would have liked him. That would have been.
I would have taken with me recently when me and him did it. Somebody asked it during the marathon if Silva and I recorded it. We did not. That will not be viewable. Last year almost ended in fisticuffs, so we needed to keep it off the airwaves. No, I'm just joking. So I would be.
I don't think Cook's going to be active on game days though, because I mean they've talked about taking Rico off of special teams. Zeke's not playing special teams. Dalvin Cook doesn't play special teams. I think that their 3 active running backs on game day are Zeke, Dowdle, and Deuce.
Yeah. For week 1, I think you're right. I'm just saying, like, it's not, necessarily ideal. So I would be in, especially because we have, and so these guys they're going to be gone in like a round.
Yeah, we can talk about whoever.
The 3 dudes I just put in the top of the queue.
Man. I mean, I have a bit of a hard time taking those guys above Dowdle just because Dowdle could just be like easily startable for the first month of the season, and we don't have a running back 2 yet. But I get the trepidation. Well, I don't really, but I understand that you're trepidatious. One in the queue would be my favorite.
I don't really care.
You would put there.
When we have Bijan already, I don't really care about easily startable for the first month. Like, who cares about our RB2 points for the first month?
Yeah, I suppose.
I'm trying to like take swings at that point. Yes,
Rico goes anyway.
Let's go. Whoever that is, Piper Evan. Let's go, Piper Evan.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's see here.
That was a big moment.
I assume that there's obviously like no way in the world that I'm going to be able to sell you on 6 in the queue, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
All right. I'd be number 1 then. I'd be number 1 out of these guys that you like.
So let me check ADPs real quick. Yeah, he does go quite a bit higher. Jalen Wright did go.
Yeah, if it was right, I would have been very in on that.
See, I would like to take multiple from this group, but I'm not trying to like. You're okay with?
I would too. One was my favorite of the group, like pretty decisively.
Okay, let's take him. He's my favorite pick on the. Like I take him in every draft. So we take Bucky.
I mean, I wrote up one of my 32 takes today was Bucky Irving leads the Buccaneers in carries from week 10 on.
There we go. You're in.
Oh,
so for the audio listeners, Bijan Robinson, Trey McBride, Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts, Stephon Diggs, Deontae Johnson, Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, Jonathan Brooks, Caleb Williams to complete the double stack, Bucky Irving at RB3. This team's sick.
The chat's not enjoying the Bucky Irving pick. We had the chat on our side this whole night. The chat is leaving us the 11th.
I'm really, really comfortable with that. The chat, Jacob, I've been doing this a long time. The chat never likes the 0 RB range. They never like the rookie running back picks in the 0 RB range. It has never gone over well with the chat. Except for Purple Yosh, who's like me. My highest exposed running back. Fuck the haters.
I'm not far behind. Let me take a look quick here.
Thank you. Even Cost, a 2-time champ, says his hatred for Bucky will not stand. These guys fuck you with Bucky hard.
Nice.
Look at Steph likes him. We're good.
So it doesn't matter now because we don't take him, but like, do you not view?
So this is interesting. 2v2 Caleb Irving versus Jaleel Caleb. So that was what we talked about.
We would have got Caleb, then Jaleel Caleb, obviously, but
so part of the issue there was that Jaleel, I mean, we were talking about not having someone to take. Jaleel's ADP is 133 in the last 2 weeks.
Right. I thought we would get him in 11.
He went 120. He went 13 picks ahead of ADP. Dobbins' ADP is 123, even significantly higher. I mean, Jordan Mason's going even way behind Bucky. 13 picks behind Bucky. He goes right after we take Bucky. Like, this is the throw out ADP range. It always is.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that we would have been taking way too high of a risk pushing Caleb. I think we were very live to lose him to the Lamar drafter with DJ Moore. Lamar's got a week 14 bye. People really get scared about that and trying to cover for the championship game that they're going to be in. And they have no stack with Lamar. They would have had Caleb stacked. Jayden Daniels, also week 14 bye, and just kind of a swing, right? Obviously, a lot of downside on that one. I think I've seen a lot of teams take Jayden Daniels, immediately come back and double tap with the quarterback. I think it would have been not worth the risk to go.
So the guy you wanted was Dobbins. And ADP says we should take him. I understand the idea. The play is, for some early season value, sort of like Rico. He pairs with Jonathan Brooks really well, gets you there, kind of a bridge running back. Ultimately, I'm always trying to break the ties towards like who can help us when it matters most in the sprint, who can be the biggest swing, and so like I think the way you justify the Bucky thing, and I understand it's going to be difficult in the early going at RB2, but it's like, can you bank on the Achilles to hold up until December? Do you feel good about Dobbins in December? I mean, what you just said about the Irving take, I get why that doesn't necessarily fit, or you'd hope to get him later or what have you, but that's where I'm like, that's exactly the pick I want to make, even though we don't have an RB2 right now. Like the week 10 on thing, I always want to swing for that in this range.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bucky's a totally defensible pick. I do think that JK and Rico have ceiling. I mean, those backfields are wide open. They're both backfields that it's not that hard to envision them being like top 10 expected fantasy point running back backfields. I think there's at least an argument that each the most talented player in it. Like JK, it's obviously an injury concern, but if you get like 80% healthy JK, he's the best running back in a backfield with Gus Edwards and a 6th-round rookie. And Rico is the only running back in his backfield that has like any sort of ability to like run a faster 40 time than you. So I just like
I don't know. I think he could probably beat me in a race still. I'm getting washed, man. I used to play, some sports, but geez.
So I don't know. I think you're shortchanging them a little bit. I think it's a little bit cute to say like, and I like Bucky Irving a lot, but I think it's a little cute to be like, I'm so sure that 4th-round rookie Bucky Irving is a better talent than Rico. Like he probably is, but I don't know. Is it like that clear cut?
I strained my Achilles last spring, and it still hurts every time I work out. It hurts when I golf. We're getting old. At least I am. Just washed, constantly washed. My hamstrings just like start cramping half the time. I need to stretch more, I think. Anyway, you were making some good points. I'm now trying to figure out if I could even run a 40 without pulling something.
All right. Well, the good news is that we are going to have one at least of the...
Thanks, Andy. Bad news, Gretch.
Nice.
It gets worse. I'm in my Fat Keenan era. That's right. I am absolutely in my Fat Keenan era. All right.
I'm going to keep... Oh, never mind.
Will you type into me somewhere or?
No, I was texting back my mom.
Got it.
Yeah, she thought we should have gotten J.K. Dobbins. I'm kidding. She was not.
That's great. Lloyd
That's
goes.
One of the guys we were looking at.
See, that's the thing. These dudes will go off. So we get Bucky in part because we were trying to get a couple of this type of play.
We're going to get a couple, though. All the 4 guys in the queue to me are pretty equal.
We got Brian in the chat. Shattered my ankle 6 years ago at age 40. Never the same since. Adding back and stuff and forget it. Done. That's awesome. Hamstring cramps during a bench press. Definitely drink some water. All right. Jalen Polk goes. Where are you at on the guy in the top of the queue?
Let me
versus
see.
The guy in the second.
That would be assuming that the queue looks the same, because I've been adding a couple guys. My favorite picks would be 1. And then the other guys that I like the most would be, well, my favorite pick would be 1. Yeah, just clearly 1 for me. Which would be.
You want to put it in the chat?
Yeah.
We're kind of trying to navigate who might come back around. Okay, you're good just nailing him here. That's my pick too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Maybe a little early, but we're gonna grab Kamani Vidal.
That was a guy that I
in preseason. You watch a lot of running back tape. You think he's a good fit?
Yeah. He was a guy, like every show that I was on in March and April, I was like, this is the running back I want to target on day 3. Like he was a guy that I liked a lot.
Hell yeah.
In college. One of the guys that I do, well, he doesn't do fantasy stuff anymore because he went to law school and he took it, I guess, more seriously than I do. But in the spring, Noah Hills, who's like, I think, like for my money, the best running back analyst in the space, does like a ton of unique blending of data and film stuff. And he was a really big Vidal guy. I really liked Vidal. JJ was really into Vidal. I think he can flat out play.
Yeah, he looked really good in the second preseason game. And I mean, look, if Dobbins, you wanted to make the Dobbins pick, and I get that, but like if Dobbins, and I'd be open to seeing him do well, but if like, I don't trust the Achilles stuff, man. And if he can't do it, Gus's peripherals created last year, no longer has Lamar. I think he was a unique fit for Lamar. I think the whole thing with the rushing QBs helping running back efficiency has to do a lot with, instead of giving this take a million times, but the edge defenders have to stay wide because the quarterback can pull it, go wide. It opens up the lanes in the middle. It's very nice with straight ahead runners. Yeah. Gus is basically just a straight line runner that plays really well with Lamar. He doesn't have Lamar anymore. I know he knows the Greg Roman scheme. I think he'll be viable at times as a runner, but like he also doesn't catch passes. Like they're going to need other stuff going on there. One of the things when I did my projections, I made a note. I was like, J.K. Dobbins might catch like 40, 50 balls because he's competing with Gus Edwards and a rookie for receptions. But then I started hearing all the stuff about Vidal as a pass blocker as well. Like he was the top pass blocker in this class or like graded really well in that regard. Shows workhorse chops as a prospect. Doesn't even play in preseason week 3. Like he got left off the 53 man when he didn't play in preseason week 1, but he wasn't fully healthy. And then in preseason week 2, they brought him in on the first drive and they used him a ton. They wanted to see him. And then they put him on ice and they played Patterson and Spiller, who they've now cut. They did bring in Hassan Haskins. I'm like vaguely worried about that because that's Harbaugh's guy from Michigan. But no, Patterson's still on the roster. Somebody, I've had people in chat telling me Patterson got cut. They have 5 running backs on the roster.
No, Patterson got sent to the practice squad today.
Okay. It's the practice squad today. Okay.
So Patterson went to the practice squad, and then Spiller got cut from the practice squad. So Spiller's not even with the organization anymore. Patterson got demoted to the practice squad, so it's 4 on the active roster,
and then Haskins, who just got added. Yeah, and Haskins knows Harbaugh's scheme, but like Vidal could legitimately have a week 1 role. Like, I mean,
Haskins is also a special teams player, and I don't think any other running. I don't know about Vidal, but like Gus and JK aren't going to play special teams.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about Irving and Vidal, and I saw Nick mention Chandler, who like clearly would have been a totally reasonable pick there, but what I like about Irving and Vidal more than Chandler is I still think Aaron Jones is really good.
Yeah, some of the guys are.
I have very little respect for Rachaad White, and then Gus Edwards is pretty washed, and JK is unknowable. Like if JK shows up and looks really good week 1, then I'd feel good about him. But I think that there's a clearer path for Bucky and Vidal to win their backfields without injury this year than Chandler, who I think is more of a strictly an injury.
This is exactly the way I would say it too. I like Chandler enough, but like the other options we had in this range were like Braylon Allen, Ray Davis, Marshawn Lloyd on the other side. They all went before we had an opportunity to get multiple of these rookie backs, and I think those are the priority. Tyrone Tracy went. We're completely out of like that group of rookie backs. They just get wiped out on FFPC. Like you used to be able to get Tyrone Tracy in best ball season in the last round, right? Like over here he goes 1301. Not in every draft, but Ray Davis actually fell a little bit in this draft. Braylon Allen goes in the 12th round, right? Marshawn Lloyd goes in the 12th. You don't get the injury discount you get in best ball season. Like if you want to get access to the rookie ceilings, you got to go make your picks in the 11th and 12th round. And yeah, I would take Chandler if that wasn't the case. Like that's ultimately.
Oh,
Zeke just went.
Oh no!
Zeke goes
the after. Not even looking like a good pick here for us.
Did you believe that? If you could tell an underdog drafter that Zeke goes after Tyrone Tracy, I mean, it's crazy.
I like the top 2 guys in our queue. I think both of them are a good mix of being like not the world's worst week 1 start.
I'm very into those too,
being pretty decent contingent bets.
I'm very into those too, but I think we might need to make the pick I just put in the queue.
Let's see. I'm refreshing it.
You let me know what you want to do there.
I'm totally that's not bad too. I think we could push him maybe 1 more.
Okay.
Me too. I'd vote for Gibson. They're 10-point underdogs week 1. I think he's a good play. And he's seen a lot of.
You want to start him week 1? All right, fine. I'll let you take a Gibson play. You let me get my Bucky and Vidal.
I mean, I don't think he's just that kind of play. Like he's also just like a very clear-cut contingent play. But I think like of the contingent plays, he's one that it's pretty easy to see. Like we're getting 10 points.
Yeah, I'm into it.
12-week regular season. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm a boomer on this, but I think that like trying to get some level of production from RB2 is like.
Well, no, I think we're going to get that. I think we're going to get it. Like, I think the gap between like what you're actually going to get from Ty Chandler and Antonio Gibson and what you're actually going to get from one of Bucky, Irving, and Vidal is going to like be a lot narrower by like.
Well, I didn't want to take Gibson over Bucky, Irving, and Vidal. I mean, I don't know.
I know. I'm just saying that gap for other people. I think a lot of people are like, he's got standalone value. He doesn't. And I just think that's going to be a lot more opaque by like week 3 than people realize. That's just sort of my take. But I like the Gibson play. I've been vaguely in on him, but have not ever really taken a lot of him. And so it's a good one that you got me on that like I'm not out on. I think he's very similar to the Chandler play. I mean, he's like you said, very clear RB2. They cut Kevin Harris. They don't want him as an RB3. Part of the issue with the Chandler play is like, how good is the offense really? Like, obviously, we love Kevin O'Connell and everything. That's part of the issue with the Patriots play, but there's upside there too if Drake May plays well. And like, yeah, you got the clear handcuff element. He was mixing in with Ramondre in the preseason. Like, I don't know if that means he will, but yeah.
In managed, I think he's arguably a better pick than Chandler because the way that these teams will do their running back rotations is Kevin O'Connell is a drives guy. So Kevin O'Connell's the way he typically does running back rotations. What we'll probably see is 2 for Jones, 1 for Chandler, which makes Chandler like a very unpredictable week-to-week start because sometimes his drives are 3 and out and he plays 3 plays in a whole half. Sometimes it's 12 plays, he gets a rushing touchdown. But where it's going to be with Van Pelt is it's going to be situation based, most likely. So Gibson's probably playing every third down, and then he also might play every third drive, and he's going to get every 2-minute drill. And when the Patriots lose, like they're going to lose probably every game they start Jacoby Brissett, I think we're going to see like 60-70% snap rates for Gibson in fourth quarters. I think it's going to be a little bit more predictable where if the Pats are a 12-point underdog, I think you're getting 50% snap rates on Gibson, which I think is a little bit different on managed. Yeah, like I would put.
I think they're just going to use him interchangeably. I feel it felt like in the preseason to me they were just like this guy's playing and this. I saw more rushing from Gibson than I thought we were going to see because like the Commanders have not ran him for a long time, but like they basically
I just look at the staff and like the way that Van Pelt operated with backs in Cleveland was he always had a designated third down and 2-minute back, and the way that the Patriots have operated historically is they have a designated third down and 2-minute back under Belichick. I would guess you put those two elements together. That's my read, but it's hard to say.
That makes sense.
This is a really more certain up because we see O'Connell do the same thing every year with drive-based rotations.
This is a super fascinating thing. I'm not showing you. I'm showing the audience because I'm sure you're very aware. But Gibson, 36 receptions, 42, 46, 48 in his 4 years. Like basically the same range, but actually kind of ticked up a little bit. Targets very similar as well. Rush attempts 170, 258. And so suddenly he's this 300 touch guy with 1,300 yards over here. And then it goes 149. And then last year it was 65 rushes against 48 receptions. I mean, we're not using you as a runner anymore.
Well, they couldn't take Brian Robinson off the field, man. I mean, it's a stud.
Yeah. But what's interesting is in the preseason, we actually saw them use Gibson as a runner a little bit, which I thought was pretty sick.
Have you ever seen a team that you liked less than Team 11?
Oh, I've seen a lot of bad teams. That team's at least taken receivers. Some teams just don't even take receivers.
I mean, I don't know.
No, this team's
receiver.
No, this team's not terrible. They got Laporta, they got James Cook, and Taylor. Those are all good picks. This team could be good. Amari could hit
in the first.
Lad, Darnell Mooney's going to run a lot of routes. I mean, there's some bad picks in there too, but I can see why you're asking.
All right. You're not podcasting with Sean here. You don't need to be that nice.
Nick, have they actually taken
exactly Nick? Yeah.
Lad McConkey could break out. Oh, that's what I'll say.
Yeah, I mean the Cooper pick is like totally defensible in the 6th round. That's fine.
Yeah.
Lad's fine. I don't really know what Khalil Shakir is doing at the 8-2.
Cooper Lad. I mean, Cooper Lad, you're playing Taylor Cook, you're flexing a tight end. And so you only need one more flex. You're flexing Mixon.
Yeah.
This is actually a pretty good starting lineup. It's just the bench is horrendous.
Yeah. We're going to get him week 1 and we're going to lose because Gibson's going to have like 4 points.
No, you play the team next to you. So we play team 5 week 1. We play this Breece Hall team that's been taking Jayden Reed and all these other picks that we like. He's actually a good drafter.
He's got a really good team, yeah.
Yeah, he's our week.
But Anthony Richardson blows, so that'll be fun.
Although he took Brian Robinson.
He took Brian Robinson and A-Rich. I don't know what idiot is doing those picks.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah, it's a good team. I think we're gonna.
So this is an interesting quote because it comes up a lot. Brian said, "Team 11 making me sad. I'm too broke to enter. Always assuming these rooms are super sharp." It's fascinating because you do get people who have money and maybe don't have a lot of strategy to what they're doing. I'm not necessarily saying that's true about Team 11, but I think a lot of people see that and they think, "Oh my God, Cook went ahead of." We got to take him. Can we take?
That's fine with me. Yeah.
We're going to grab Samaje Perine here for the take a peek. I didn't think he'd make it back to us. And the fact that Dalvin went ahead of Perine is
extremely confident that he was going to make it back to us.
In 14?
That's why I wanted to. Yeah, I thought you were worried about absolutely nothing. Yeah.
I've seen him go ahead of that for sure.
Oh, really? Yeah, dude. That's possible.
He's been all over the place. He's went as high as, this says, as 136, which is the 11th round.
I guess people just kind of stopped taking running backs there because the other guy I had like kind of tied with Gibson, he's still on the board too. And I'm really surprised that he was all the way back to us there too.
The point is I think he fits it because we get to take a peek here. Yes. I think he fits the build really well. We get the take a peek means if he does really well, we can actually put him into our RB2 spot, which is something that we need for week 1.
Big time. Now he's worried about week 1.
Well, I mean, let's take a peek. That's easy. So look at his range over the last few days. Like these are individual days. These are individual drafts in the days. And this is from 150 to 200 plus, and you're getting
wow. Okay. So
I mean, let's just do main event alone. So in the main event, he's been going in a lot tighter in the main event, but in the 140 to 180 range, where did we just take him? It was a lot later than that.
We took him in the 14th, right?
So 144 is 12. So
that'd mean 168, 76, 54. We took him 163.
I was just about to get there. So that's right in the middle of, I mean, that's, essentially right at his ADP right now.
Well, the guy that I would have considered 2 rounds ago might come back to us again. I assume you'd be fine with him at this pick, right?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, our team is.
If we get him, I kind of like our running backs. Like
I already do like our running backs. Our running backs are sick.
Yeah, this is like. Oh man,
this guy next to us.
Threat to take him here, though.
Yeah, he's been sharp
based on how he's been drafting.
Well, I mean, the other guy you have in the queue, we could take just as quickly. So, the top 2 guys are both really good picks here.
Yeah.
But Perine to me is actually like a really good play in addition to the take a peek.
I agree.
I think he should be going meaningfully higher than Dalvin. So Nick is finishing the point that I was saying. There's at least 1 or 2 horrible drafters per room, but the other point I was going to make was there are 8 to 10 really strong drafters in every room, and it's hard to kind of quantify what that means, but it's something we were talking about in the beginning. Like you don't see fallers. People don't let like good picks fall.
All right, let's take Juice.
What's his name?
Oh, his Twitter handle is @Juice.
Is that Khalil Herbert?
Yeah.
All right. @Juice. This team's sick. Jacob has just wanted pure veteran running backs. He had Rico in, then he had Zeke in, and then he made me take Gibson.
For the record, Ben is taking the anti-veteran running back stance by pushing for Samaje Perine.
Oh, okay. That was a very unique play. I also got us on Bucky and Kamani.
Yeah.
So we got Bijan, McBride, Waddle, Pitts, Diggs,
don't take full credit for Kamani. I was all in on that.
That's right. You were on that too. Deontae, Roma, Dunze, Keenan. So we only have 5 receivers, but we feel really good about those 5 receivers. Jonathan Brooks, Caleb Williams, Bucky Irving.
This is a receiver.
That's true. We do have a flex tight end. Bucky Irving, Kamani Vidal, Antonio Gibson, Samaje Perine, Khalil Herbert. 6 really good running backs now. We got Caleb. I mean, we could think about a QB2 at some point if we wanted to.
Good.
I mean, we're in a real good spot.
This is a fucking awesome team. I've drafted not as many as you, but a decent amount of these high stakes teams. And I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is my favorite team that I've drafted so far.
This is a question that I've received on many a stream. Who you start week 1 at RB2? I'm usually not sure. It's not even a joke. It's just the truth.
I mean, I think it's pretty simple. We're gonna put Gibson, or we're gonna put Perine in the lineup. We're gonna see how he does, and then we're gonna see how many points he gets. And if he gets a lot, then he's gonna be him.
6 catches and a touchdown, 15 points, exactly. 6 for 30 and a TD. That's what I'm calling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be sweet. I made this point with it's funny because
team fucks, dude.
It's funny because we got him a lot later, but I was really pushing for Perine earlier with Davis, and he wasn't, I think, quite as excited about it as I was. So then we were on the reverse roles here. And I was making the case that I'm sure you agree with based on how excited you were for the pick, that like we've seen this exact play of like the kind of goofy 3rd down running back guy wind up being the guy you need over the latter half of the season in KC, like several times. Like Darrell Williams was a really high upside pick despite being Darrell Williams. Jerick McKinnon did it 2 years in a row.
Yes.
We've seen like there's so many guys that
Damian Williams
of as in a vacuum. Yeah, I mean, he actually.
Damian Williams is like the pinnacle of it. What he did, he probably should have won Super Bowl MVP. What he did in the playoffs that year.
Yeah.
And all he was a pass catching back his whole career. Go look at his career before Kansas City.
Yeah.
It looks just like Samaje Perine. Oh God, we're doing this right now. We are so doing this right now. I'm pulling up this screen. You guys are about to do. Damian Williams. Early career stuff. Look at the rush attempts. Never had more than gets 111 in this Kansas City year, but prior to that, never had more than 50. But he had 20 plus catches every year, right? This guy's a passing downs back, plays a little bit, runs a little bit on early downs, but he's like a 20 plus catch guy. Can block, can play, and then he ends up actually having some meaningful moments for KC. Not a ton here as far as
but it was in the playoffs. Here. Really, is what
it was that playoff stretch where he probably should have won. And then you go look at Samaje Perine. Same dude.
And Samaje
very competent.
Did this 2 years ago down the stretch for Cincy. He was a guy you wanted to start every week.
20 catches as a rookie. Didn't play a lot in his next couple seasons, but came back these last 2 years in Cincy. 27, 38 catches, 50 last year for Denver. Never had 100 attempts other than way back when he was a rookie for Washington. He's a passing down guy, but he's a veteran that's trusted. He knows the calls. He'll pick up blitz protections. He'll catch passes for you. And the Chiefs have the highest pass rate over expected 5 seasons in a row. They're obviously going. I almost just left the StreamYard in the middle of my point. I was trying to close this window. That would have been hilarious. They will throw the ball a ton, and they're going to use them on passing downs. I don't know what I was saying because I thought I almost just dropped off the stream. But I mean, dude, like he can legitimately have upside, like what you were just saying. They've had a lot of these guys. He's better than Darrell Williams for sure. He might not be quite.
Darrell Williams is like the worst running back I've ever seen play in the NFL.
Right.
And he scored like 20 points a week first.
McKinnon was having like dead. They were calling him like dead legs the year before he came to KC. And then he had a great stretch with KC. When you play for Patrick Mahomes, all you got to do is run in the flat, dude. They're putting 7 DBs on the field and they're all going deep to guard all the receivers. You're wide open every play. Like this is a role for sure. Like this is a real pick. All right. I'm not picking.
I would either be number 1 or I would be producer.
Damn it. I would be 1 or 2. I think it's probably 1.
I think it's 1. Also a take a peek guy.
Okay. I got, So somebody was asking if Shipley's in the queue. He was in the queue with.
Better believe it.
He was in the queue with Perine, and he was definitely in the queue with Herbert. We're throwing Shipley on here as well. I think we have other outs to the other play.
This is great for April Jacobs running back film take podcasting. Like the 2 guys that I would pump up on every show is Vidal and Shipley. So this is I'm getting my guys here.
I just threw a couple dudes out of the queue that you had in there. It doesn't mean that we can't take them, but I was trying to.
Fair.
I was going to tell you that I think we should go this other direction that you have in the queue. Who are some other options that are like in this mold? Like, are there? I'm starting to add guys, but I don't know. So McMillan goes 1 pick behind us. That's the other guy we were talking about. Oh, Jalen Tolbert's already gone. Leggett already gone. Maybe we should have just taken. I mean, McMillan was maybe the pick there. I don't know. That's tricky.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to worry about it. I was just about to do this victory lap on the last turn where like I was stoked when Pitts fell. We were stoked about like Diggs, the way some of the stuff was falling, getting Keenan, getting Caleb. Didn't really want to rust on the laurels because there's a lot more work to do with the build. Like you don't want to mess stuff up. I've done that too many times with builds that start early. You don't want to drop the baby, as we always say. Getting Bucky, Vidal, doing this stuff with the vet running backs here. Like this is the point where most of these are just cuts at the end. But this is like when I have a start like this, what I start thinking is I loved the thing that you wrote that was like you have your in best ball, you have your portfolio, but eventually you're trying to get one team through to the best ball mania, and then the 18 players in that team you have 100% exposure to. Like it ends up being just those players. And I'm massively overexposed to Bucky, Irving, and Kamani Vidal and all this, but I talked to Sean about this before. He's expressed this point as well. When you have a really fun start and you're like, this could be the team, the guys that you have the most confidence in, I want them on that team more than anything. Like I want to make sure this team has Bucky and Kamani. Like I'm so glad because these are the 2 running backs I take everywhere. I'm so glad we were in lockstep on that. I really legitimately think this team, we might be stupid. This might get dead last, but I think this team has a legitimate shot to win the whole thing. And when you get to then add the picks you really like, I think the Perine ones I really love as well. I'm glad that you like the Gibson and Herbert stuff and got us on the ones that you like as well, because you want to finish the team with the guys that you really care about when you have a really fun start. And I'm just like, dude, we did it. Like, the rest from here on out, I don't really care that much. Like, we can cut the other guys.
Yeah. What do you think of number 4 in the queue?
Sure. Yeah, I actually love that. I love that. I also really like 1. 1 has been a late one for me.
Yeah.
But because we only have 5 receivers, like, it won't be hard to just stash. Oh,
yep.
You know what? It's sort of a handcuff play too for us.
It is.
Is that a pro or a con?
I think it works because it's a handcuff, but if the other guy was to go out, then they both boom in a massive correlated way.
All right, let me look at, and we don't need to push. Dude, I'm so fired up. I'm sorry. I'm going on these like 20-minute rants, but I'm just feeling it right now. Some of the chat was like, everybody needs to grab another beer, and I'm like, I'm ready.
All right, so we are up. I mean, those are the 2 players I want the most, and it's just a matter of which way we think we should try to get them.
Which order? Yeah.
I
think 4 has a better chance to come back, personally.
I agree. When I was drafting early, I would get sniped on him on occasion, but not recently.
So that's how I feel. Not recently.
Okay, let's do Malik Washington.
Okay. So Malik Washington winds up being, he's somebody who had a really nice preseason. I actually wrote maybe earlier today, because I called him on one of these streams undraftable at one point and got called out in the chat, and then addressed it on a later stream because of how concentrated the Dolphins offense has been the last couple of years. Their third receiving weapon has had about 350 yards last year. And they really intentionally tried to get the ball to Devon Achane in the pass game at the end of last season. And so I've had this take that if somebody emerges as a third receiver that can get to 500, 600 yards or more, that I think it's going to be Achane. And then it's tough for anyone else. But part of the take with Washington, who people really like as a prospect and with the fit with McDaniel, because he's so quick, part of the take for me was like, okay, well, you need him to get into that like circle of trust where McDaniel's going to call plays for you, because he thinks players, not plays. He can get the ball into the guys' hands that he wants to get him into. But if he can get into that circle of trust, that's great. But then also like he needs to be good. And I think we saw half of that in the preseason where like he looked good. He looked efficient. He looked explosive. And now it's just like, if he gets the opportunity, I like the bet, because I saw some pretty sick stuff in the preseason.
I'll add a few things to that, and I agree with absolutely everything you said. First of all, this is a dude that just rocked in college. Was like one of the most fun players to watch in college. It's like sometimes you get those teams where you play this shitty team, and he was on UVA, and it's like the entire team is about one player because everybody else is just an accountant. And it's like so fun when you watch that one player like have to still do their thing when the defense is only concerned about them. And I was watching him on UVA last year. I'd also say if you watched their Miami Dolphins draft stream, this was a purely Mike McDaniel pick. Like, he was the one pounding the table. Give me Malik Washington. Like, Chris Greer, the GM, had nothing to do with that pick, which is one of the positive signals about Achane last year, where it was when you watch them do that pick, Mike McDaniel was like, I want him, which is like what I want to see when he's the one in charge of giving these guys the ball.
Yeah.
Right? And the last thing is what I really like about Washington and why I think he's a better pick in this format than someone like a Pearsall, even, which, well, irrespective of what happened to him today, obviously. Is he's going to be on the field, even if he's not going to get a lot of touches. Like, Odell's on pup. So Malik Washington's going to run some routes week 1 for sure, and we're going to get to watch him play. And maybe we're not going to be able to envision starting him without a Hill or Waddle injury, but at least you can see, like, if he looks good, if he's having some positive indicators, whereas some of these other guys are just not going to be on the field right away. And then you're like, well, do I want to cut him because he hasn't done anything wrong versus what I would have picked him anyway? Like, right? Somebody put like Kendre Miller in the chat earlier, and it's like, I get the case there, but it's like, I don't know. Are you going to want to hold on to Kendre Miller for 4 weeks?
It's really tough to hold him. I'm a freaking huge Kendre Miller truther, but it's tough to hold him.
Right. Like guys are going to come up on waivers that we're going to want, and we're going to be looking for guys to cut. And we have a lot of running backs already that you're not going to want to cut because most of these guys are like, we're going to have a long leash on guys like Bucky and Kamani. And then guys like Gibson and Herbert is like, well, the reason we took them is in large part because we want to see if their starters get hurt. So we're not really going to want to cut them, right? Like same with Perine and Shipley. So it's like you take a Kendre Miller and it just feels kind of inevitable that you're just holding a guy who's not going to play and then you're going to cut him in.
And it's not like when you're out for 4 weeks on IR that you can just be back in week 5 playing. Like part of the reason they put him on IR
and anything to say about it.
What's that?
I said not if Dennis Allen has anything to say about it.
Right, exactly. Like that's just not a good that's another bad side that it's like his coach doesn't like him. They didn't cut him, but like there's scenarios where he's not playing in the offense meaningfully until much further into the season. I hope that doesn't happen, but I mean some of the pup stuff, they come back after 3 weeks. The IR stuff, it's like they open a practice window and then
right.
I mean 6 games later, you're like, is this guy ever gonna play this year? Like no one's gonna hold him. He's going to be available on waivers. Like if you like him, you're going to be able to add him after week 6. That's
Did you
my
see
thing.
Brandon's comment?
Dennis Allen would steal my password to log into my account and cut Kendre Miller. That's a good one.
The Kendre Miller play at this point to me is that Dennis Allen gets fired and then the new coach comes in like week 11 and he's like, Rattler's the starting quarterback, Miller's the starting running back, and let's have fun.
Yeah. You need Allen to get shit canned for sure.
Yeah.
Malik Washington.
And Spence, I would have been in on Leggett for sure. If he was available to us, I would have made the case for him. Absolutely.
One last thing on Malik Washington I want to notice. We did take Waddle as our wide receiver 1 in the 3rd round. It's so funny because you get Waddle and you're like this huge upside swing. And I was like, man, I said, is that a pro or a con on this team to be sort of handcuffing yourself? I think it's a pro on this team when you get the Deontae and Keenan stuff where like Waddle's not, he's the wide receiver 1 in cost, but like these guys are really stable, and Diggs obviously are really stable volume earners where like if for some reason Waddle didn't hit and we weren't able to play him or something, like we're still fine on this build. So
I don't view it as a handcuff because if Tyreek Hill gets hurt, then you want to have both the other 2 guys.
Yeah, it's
right.
True.
Like then you're jacked that you have Malik and Waddle.
This is true from Vincent. If you have IR spots for some reason, yeah, Kentry's fine. Stash him in those leagues. We're getting a late take a peek Chiefs tight end here. I mean, what it would mean if you did something like that is you would then bench your actual good tight ends. And so like, what's he going to score? 12. And then you're going to bench Kyle Pitts. So the take a peek makes more sense when you don't have a clean option. So we did that a couple times for our RB2, specifically because we don't have a great RB2 option. So if we can get like 12 or 14 points out of Perine, we'll probably just take it, right? Instead of trying to play Gibson or something. That's kind of the way to do the take a peek. You want to do Fields, right?
Absolutely, I do.
So we grab Fields here. We're going to stash him. We're definitely playing Caleb early. We're probably going to play him often. And Fields is there in case,
you're with me that the rust is not going to last until the weeks 15 to 17, right?
I don't think he's going to last until week 5. Yeah, I did the preseason stealing signals write-ups for the subs. I watched all the snaps for both of those guys. I'm not saying Fields was good, but I will say unequivocally that the offense was functional, more functional with Fields because of his mobility and some of the things they were able to do schematically. Wilson completed I think it was like 9 or 10 passes this preseason. 2 of them went for first downs. Every other one was underneath. Like 2 of his like only 10-yard passes were on like 3rd and 18s after he took sacks. They were checkdowns, and then the like defenses just rallied for the tackle, right? But they gave him the underneath throw. I mean, he had one nice throw to Pickens in the 3rd preseason game that like made the rounds on Twitter, and I ended up writing in my preseason week 3 write up like, if that's the only thing you saw from him, you would think that he had a good preseason. So like, don't get fooled by it. Cause it literally was the 2nd passing first down he had on everything else was underneath or missing long throws when he took them. He did not look like a functional quarterback. Now, maybe it was the calf. Maybe it'll come on for him during the season. I don't know. I mean, that's possible. Maybe he was just taking the checkdowns because of the calf and all that stuff. I'm open to it, but I'm not optimistic that.
No, I'm not at all. I mean, he looked horrible. I know there's a lot of people who like to post things on Twitter about his touchdown to interception ratio. But if you were watching play to play, like Sean Payton was putting him in a straitjacket, and
that's right. He was hiding him the whole time.
Yeah. Receive, I think that is a very valid point about the Fields pick, and it does kind of speak to what we were just saying about the Kendre Miller pick. I guess my argument would just be that the case is so clear cut that if Justin Fields is named starting quarterback at some point mid-season, and I have a pretty high degree of confidence that that's going to happen, that he's going to project as a top 10 quarterback.
To me, we're not going to.
We cut him would be if Caleb Williams just looks like Mahomes right away, and it's like, okay, maybe Justin Fields isn't that necessary of a hold.
When you suggested that, I did double check Caleb's bye and remember, okay, it's week 7, and I thought we're probably not holding him through Caleb's bye, but I also thought there's a real strong chance that he's starting by then. Frankly, I don't know if 6 games of Russell Wilson is a lot. Like you're talking about midseason, you were talking about the week 15 stuff. Part of the reason we're making that play is we think there's a chance he's playing in the first 5 or 6 games. And we are definitely playing Caleb the first few games. We would need Caleb to have multiple down games or get injured to be off of that for some reason, right? So
yeah, I agree.
The only thing is if we want to go 1 QB, like you said, if Caleb goes full Mahomes, but we also aren't necessarily going to want to do that. So just putting some real quarterback ceiling onto our roster as one roster spot, I don't think hurts anything.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the 18th round, right? Like if we have to cut him at some point for whatever reason, then it's like, okay, and we have to cut him. But it's, hopefully we can hold through that upside.
Yeah, and as Brandon points out, Fields is used to getting cut from fantasy teams. It's fine.
He won't take it personally.
Yeah. All right, we got to take some kickers. We got to take some.
Let's chase some fucking kickers. There's no one on this team I want to cut, so I don't think we need to bother with take a peek kicker and defenses.
Oh, but no, we do want to take Narvison. Right?
But then don't we have to? But if he doesn't perform, then don't we have to lose someone else from the bench?
We could cut Malik or.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume he'll do decent enough, but I also think he's a really good kicker pick, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, especially like LaFleur's part of the Shanny tree. They don't do things like go for it on 4th down.
Do you have a defense?
I mean, I have a few that I like. I would say Cincy, Chicago, and Minnesota are the ones that I like the most.
Let's take one of those first, and we'll figure out kicker later. Which one's
what do you like most? Minnesota gets Daniel Jones. Cincy gets Jacoby Brissett. Chicago gets Will Levis.
Are they all at home?
I'm not sure. Minnie for sure is, and Cincy for sure is.
I'm going to take the Will Levis. You said Chicago gets Will Levis?
Yeah.
I mean, Brissett sucks. Daniel Jones sucks. But Will Levis is going to chuck it, right?
Yeah, he's going to throw, especially if Chicago wins that game, Will Levis is going to throw like 37 pass attempts. So that's like 8 sacks probably and 3 picks.
We also got Chicago on the other side winning that game, stacking. So,
yeah.
I like, of those options you gave me, I liked, I do think they're at home as well. I think I remember the Bears being at home. Someone's going to tell me I'm wrong.
I just don't know that one. Yeah.
So NFL, it's in Chicago. Yep. So Will Levis on the road week 1, I'll take. Yeah, the Giants one is in New York. I mean, I don't love Daniel Jones, but that's part of the reason I was a little less into the Minnesota thing. Like,
yeah, I do think Brian Flores, when he plays bad quarterbacks, he just runs basically engage 8 for like 3 hours, and they just get like a shit ton of sacks.
But the other difference is that the Bears defense is like legit good. I remember when I was on with Robert Mays this summer, he was talking to me about this. He's like, people that know ball, the reason I reference Robert Mays is like people that know real football, we're all fantasy nerds. Like, the Bears were a lot better defensively down the stretch last year, and like they think that that's going to carry over, and they're going to be a really good D this year. The Vikings D lost like Danielle Hunter. They brought in the Texans guy to replace him, but they're not like
they brought in
the same
Greener,
defense.
I think it's actually pretty comparable, but yeah.
What's the DNs are they're comparable?
Yeah, I thought that was a sharp move by the Vikings to get Greener a lot cheaper and younger,
But the Vikings D is not very good overall, correct? Or...
No, it's not. They're a better fantasy D though because Flores is so blitz heavy that they'll pile up sacks even if they're not having a great game. Like they'll force sacks and turnovers, but just give up a lot of yards because it's a really high risk scheme.
Okay, that's sick. I like that.
But Bears D will be like actually good. I mean, the only thing with Bears D is Eberflus never blitzes. So it's like he only rushes 4 all day. So it's going to be a little harder for them to pick up sacks. So even if they're going to be like a traditionally good defense, a lot of their strength is more in the back 7 with Jalen Johnson, and then their linebacker unit is incredible.
This guy's about to take my kicker. God damn it.
Is he really?
Well, he already went KC, D, and KC kicker, so he's doing the take.
He's going to take 2 kickers, you think?
Oh, he went tight end. Sometimes, because if you're doing the take a peek, I drafted against somebody who took 2 take a peek kickers and 2 take a peek defenses, and they were drafting next to us and we're playing them week 1. And I was like, God damn it. They're going to have a lot of kicker and defensive points one way or another.
All right.
I think they took 3 take a peek kickers. It was like their last 5 rounds was all kicker and D.
Oh, wow.
all optimizing for week 1. And I was like, great. I'm playing you week 1.
I'm playing you week 1. That's awesome. Yeah, are we taking the Narv
Who
dog?
is Will Reichard? Yeah, we're taking
I have
Narv
no
dog,
idea.
Dude. All I know is we took him on Thursday night with Crack Rock, and I decided at some point during that stream that Narv Dog was the key to 2024 championships. Because they were saying he can kick like 60 yards, and he's playing for a great offense. And it's like, okay, and LaFleur will kick field goals. And it's like, this is Brandon Aubrey this year. Brandon Aubrey is going in the 15th round now. Like, this is Brandon Aubrey. Has to be.
Yeah, we went from this was on one of the Ron Liam teams. We ended up on the Narv dog, and it went from like 45 seconds earlier. We were like, who's the Green Bay kicker? And then I was like, I think it's Greg Joseph. And then someone's like, no, they signed some dude off a practice squad. And then we were like looking it up. We're like, oh, apparently it's this guy Braden Arvison. And then we read like one news story about him having a big leg, and we were like, oh, we just made the greatest kick.
Yeah,
like,
it's the greatest pick of all time.
Like,
I love when you take a kicker and you're like, this was the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, we're all in on the Narv dog.
What was I going to ask you about that? Oh, do you know what happened to Anders Carlson? Wasn't he their kicker last? What happened to the Carlson brothers?
Well, Anders Carlson was like deplorably bad. He just couldn't make kicks.
I don't know anything about kickers.
I know about Anders Carlson because I'm in a group chat with like a bunch of other dudes that we just talk about fantasy and whatever. One of them's a Packers fan, and just every Sunday I would just get like 5 texts in a row at some point during the Packers game. Be like, fucking Anders Carlson, fuck. This guy fucking sucks. Like,
oh, that's great.
Yeah, I don't know that.
All right, well, this team fucks. The final roster:
team is so
Bijan
good.
Robinson,
Woo!
Trey McBride, Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts, Stephon Diggs, Deontay Johnson, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, Jonathan Brooks, Caleb Williams, Bucky Irving, Kamani Vidal, Antonio Gibson, Samaje Perine, Khalil Herbert, Will Shipley will go in to week 1 with 8 backs. Love that. Malik Washington was our wide receiver 6. Justin Fields, QB2. The Bears defense going to feast on Will Levis in week 1. And apparently, per Robert Mays, is really good at football. He probably never said that. And Braden Narvison, I just wanted to name drop. Braden Narvison kicked a bunch of field goals from 60 yards in the future. I don't know why I said it in past tense. It's going to happen. This team's awesome, dude.
Really,
this was
really
a blast. So glad we did this.
Yeah, man, this was fantastic. This is a really impromptu draft. We had the plan for this not super long ago, but yeah, I mean, legitimately, like I said, you've drafted a lot more teams, but this is legitimately my favorite team that I've drafted so far this year. This is
me too,
unreal.
Yeah, I mean, like it's one of those things where I am looking at like the Xavier Worthy, Deontay Johnson moment, right? Like a couple of these where it's like, oh, yeah, well, could have got more. That
could have been Xavier
players.
Worthy, like, yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
But at the same time, man, like, dude, to get the Caleb double with Keenan in the 8th round, to get Kyle Pitts in the 4th. I mean, I'm very into Bijan. We almost started the show with a big Bijan versus Brees debate. This is a team. I mean, we both are really into Diggs. We get him in the middle of the 5th. And we were talking about how we think he belongs in the 3rd. Keenan belongs in the 5th. I mean, every guy is rounds too cheap. Pitts is in the middle of the fourth.
It wouldn't surprise
Jonathan
me
Brooks
whatsoever if Kyle Pitts is the highest scoring tight end on our team, and we got him in the fourth. 24 picks after McBride, who I think is undervalued at the 2.7.
And if one of Jonathan Brooks, Bucky, Irving, or Kamani Vidal is not a meaningful part of the sprint this year, then I don't know ball. Like that's what I believe that something from that is going to matter. I think the rookie running backs are going to really matter this year. And I think those are three of the clearest late round hammers that you can have. So freaking pumped.
Bucky is just like the most obvious pick that people are starting to get woke to a little bit more and more these days. But like Rachaad White is such an outlier if you just look at what running backs are able to sustain volume. And it's so funny. I wrote this in my piece today. People always, whenever I shit on Rachaad White, people always say, oh, you guys, like these advanced stats, they don't mean anything. Coaches don't care about advanced stats. Coaches don't care. Okay. I'm sure they're not like on next gen stats. Here's the only 5 running backs who had a worse rush yards over expectation per attempt than Rachaad White last year. Dameon Pierce lost his job in season. Miles Sanders lost his job in season. Alvin Kamara didn't lose his job in season because the other guy on the list was Jamal Williams, who was Alvin Kamara's backup. And then Kareem Hunt, who's no longer employed by the National Football League. So it's like, I don't know if they're reading the stats, but like the stats are telling you what the coaches are seeing because they stopped giving these guys touches when they performed this poorly. So like it's, and that's the kind of company that Rachaad White was keeping. I think that I don't think it's just the stats either, right? Like, I mean, you watch all the games. I watch all the games. I don't think that he's decisive. I think he spends too much time waiting around for things, and then he gets tackled before he builds up momentum. And Bucky, I think, is a really good processor. I think he's going to make a big difference for them. And the way they talk about him, right, is just like nonstop positivity. This is like one of the clearest spots where I can the comparison I've made a few times is 2022 Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery, where they still kind of valued Montgomery for being big and being a pass protector. So he still got to play some pass downs and some goal line stuff. But by midseason, Herbert was playing evenly with him between the 20s. And I think that happens sooner than later with Bucky.
The guy that it reminds me of and has the whole offseason. And I mean, so Bucky may not be the same talent as Jaylen Warren. Our guy, Pat Perine, is obviously always so brilliant on Jaylen Warren, and like the first guy that comes to mind when it comes to Jaylen Warren. He loves the talent, always talking about all the talent elements of it. And Warren's been fantastic for multiple years. But Pat and I hadn't talked about Warren last year when we first did, and we're both really in on him. And Warren was sort of my Bucky last year, where I was like 30% exposed to. Pat famously was as well. But the play for me, because I am a little bit of a boomer, comes down to the projection side of it and comes down to leveraging the starter being the fragile dead zone-y type, the fragile workload type. There's the things that you see that work against a guy throughout a season. The reason that projected volume doesn't always hit at running back is because running back talent does matter to a certain degree. And for Najee, the point I was making all last offseason was he was going into year 3, and everyone was saying that Mike Tomlin has only ever used workhorses. He's going to use a workhorse again. That's the way that it works. And my argument was you don't just get to do it forever and not be good enough. He wasn't good enough in year 1. He wasn't good enough in year 2. And every year it compounds. And eventually in year 3, it's going to become too big of an issue when his backup is really good. So it was more of a play against Najee that I thought he was such a smash as the number 2 back in that backfield. Everything you just said about Rachaad White is obviously so true. And we're going into year 3 with Rachaad White as well. And people are confident that White's going to get all the work again this year. And you can't be the worst runner in rush yards over expected last year. And I think maybe the year before also, or close to the worst as a rookie as well. And then just get all the work in year 3 as well. Like, that's why they brought in Bucky. That's why they drafted the 6th running back this year. And that was one of the bull signs of Bucky too. He was ranked like 10th in the class. Some people don't like his athletic profile. A lot of the scouts had him like 10th. They took him 6th. They liked him. They took him ahead of other highly drafted and highly ranked not highly drafted because they were all fourth rounders at that point.
Before the combine, I did a pre-combine rank. I had him fourth. The combine, I moved him down in large part because it was going to hurt his draft capital. But like, I loved watching him play. Is what I'm trying to say with that.
And his numbers were great, and it didn't really hurt his draft capital that much. And you're making a bet against one of those fragile starting running back profiles that you want to be betting against. Same thing with Vidal. It's the other reason that Vidal is the one that stands out to me here. Is like it's so easy to bet against the top of that depth chart. We know it every year that like these things turn over. You brought up the Dameon Pierce stuff. Like there are those lead backs that turn over. That's always been the way for me to try to look for those late round running backs. It really hit last year with Warner. It's part of why it hit with Warren. Warren's a real big talent as well. Bucky's got to be good enough. Vidal's got to be good enough. But we think that those guys are good enough. And they're easy, like anti-fragile bets against the starters in those backfields, which is an absolute blast. This team smash, dude. I mean, I almost – do you want to fire up a –
Yeah, man. I mean, I owe you one. Because, no, I don't have anything to do. We could do want to see we get a sprint maybe?
Yeah, let's try to get a sprint going. I just like we're hitting on everything right now.
Everything
I don't want to quit drafting.
While I pull up Underdog, can I give you a Tat McMillan stats update here?
Yes.
2025 wide receiver 1 and future member of probably 60% of my high stakes teams this time next year. 3 minutes left in the third quarter. 50% target share, 9 catches, 285 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Sorry. Say that again.
The team has thrown the ball 26 times. He's been targeted on 13 of those. He's caught 9 of them. They've gone for 285 yards, and he has 4 touchdowns and was tackled at the 1 from getting his 5th touchdown. There is still 20 minutes of football to go.
And it's so funny because you said 199 last time, and I'm like, well, he's only at 285. And I thought about that, and I was like, he's got 86 more yards in like a quarter.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a game for most players.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys as well. Berto said, thanks for another stream. My favorite duo. Me and Jacob love to chat on this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Have wanted to do work together for a long time. Have done a few streams, obviously, already this summer. But yeah, we have a blast doing this together as well. So I'm glad that I've heard this a few times. I'm glad that you guys enjoy it.
One sec. My Underdog's being fucky, but just give me 1 minute here. I think we'll
fucky like Bucky
here. Exactly.
It's only the third quarter in the Husky game. I got another quarter of football to watch. They're up 28-0 though. They're doing what they're supposed to do against Weber State, which is nice. Oregon, our rivals, who got ranked 3rd the year after we were the runners up. I mean, I know that their roster's a lot stronger, but they almost lost to Idaho. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it would have been amazing if in week 1 they struggled against Idaho. We're taking care of business against Weber State.
All right. I just entered us into a sprint. Let's see how many are there. We're waiting on 4 people. I'll get screen share going.
Oh, everyone's tweeting right now. Tetroy and McMillan, what the hell? I just saw from.
I hope it's what the hell good and not what the hell bad.
No. Yeah, yes, no, it's good. He just did. He was open for another bomb TD.
Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, the DB, he just duked the DB and then he just fell directly out of his release. And then he went down at the 1. I don't know exactly why he went down at the 1.
So he's continuing to. All right. What are we filling here? The sprint?
This is a sprint. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm going to go
get some overlay on this. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I bet Jewish McCaffrey's in here.
Oh, for sure. Oh my God. For the people watching this, I'm just watching Tat McMillan highlights and dude just fucking glides. It is unreal. He doesn't look like he's moving that fast because he's like a gazelle. A very good way to sound unserious is to compare college players to Calvin Johnson, but that was the first thing that my mind kind of went to. We got the 112. Of course, we got the 112. I've been on a hot streak. of not sticking Ben with the worst possible draft slots. But that hot streak is over. All right, Ben, can you swap to the other screen share? Originally my Chrome wasn't there. We go.
Yeah,
we got the 112.
So we got the 112. I heard you.
Our run of good luck has slightly slowed.
That's fine. This draft is the victory cigar after the draft that really mattered.
Exactly.
I mean, this is easy peasy.
Oh, speaking of victory cigar, I'm gonna go get my vape.
You better be back to make these picks.
Oh, I am far away then.
Yeah, dude,
I know you've had a lot of base streaming recently, so
yeah.
I
don't know.
My language is gonna be tip top. Don't worry.
That's great.
The Tet Offensive. Oh my god, that's an awesome name.
Mm-hmm. The Tet Offensive. Lawrence is hanging out. He's he's up by you. He's a BCer.
Yeah.
Bunch of Canadians.
I know. I wish you could have driven up for the Scott Fish Bowl live in Van this year. That would have been fun.
Dude, I'm like Tet McMillan.
What a player.
Well, I mean, I'm having a moment right now where they were like really rumored to be transferring to UW. He was going to play at UW this year because their coach came here, and then Noah Fafita, his QB, and him, and they actually wound up going to an Arizona basketball game and they got the mic and announced at an Arizona basketball game they were staying. But that's how much the rumor was like they needed to announce it publicly.
You would have had a McMillan that you liked way more real fast playing at UW.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate Jaylen or anything, but
Jalen's good, but he's no Tet McMillan, that's for sure.
Oh, dude, no. Yes. You're right. 9 for 285.
We'll put it this way. We're picking up the 112 next year. Tet McMillan's going to be in the queue.
All right, so we got me and Sean got a tough draft slot during our draftathon yesterday. And we just did the all vibes draft. We took Gibbs at like 10.
Let's vibe it up.
And then we took Achane at like 203. We were just like, fuck it. We're just going to do all vibes.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to do here from the 12th. That's what you wrote about.
Cigar team.
Yeah.
This is a victory cigar team. No, all vibes.
Only players we think can be absolutely dominant.
Yeah. All right. Marvin Harrison goes there. Let's see.
Well, I mean, Puka Gibbs isn't a bad start. We can start doing other crazy things. We don't have to take them. We could go Gibbs.
I'm in on Puka. for sure.
You're not on Gibbs?
And let's
do Achane. Let's do Puka Achane.
Let's do it. All right. Fuck yeah. The other guy that I legitimately like, I wasn't even gonna try to sell you on, so I'm just gonna keep the vibes up. We're gonna do Achane.
Who was the other guy? Devontae Adams?
No. What team do I root for, Ben?
Oh, Jonathan Taylor. We could have done that. I would have been in on that.
I think he's going to see like a 96% snap rate in week 1.
What are you booing for him? Right.
Oh, well, the guy in the Jonathan Taylor jersey profile picture, I think you could tell what he's booing for.
Oh. Should have taken Taylor. No, Taylor would have been a fun
Taylor's
pick.
A great pick, to be honest. I think that the
I was just thinking about your write-up about picking from the 12 and also with the sprint mentality that this is not quite as big of a contest. And so like as soon as you wrote that up, everyone was doing that. But we might have like one of the very few Puka Achane builds in this whole thing, which is I think
Achane, as good of a pick as he is,
the 2-3 turn is what I was thinking, which you have written up.
Agreed with that, and I have written that, and I'll say even more. as good of a pick as HN is in regular Best Ball Mania, I think is even better pick in the sprint, because in Best Ball Mania, like you think of the way HN scores, right? It's a really wide band. He's the kind of guy where it's like you get 50 and then you get 10. In Best Ball Mania, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because you're hoping the 50 comes in week 17, but kind of the worst scenario is if he gets the 50 in week 16, he's super owned, and then you get the 8 and you're kind of stuck. In the sprint, if he has one of those 50s, all the final 3 weeks count equally. So if he gets one of those 50s, you're going to need to have him.
He's a top 3 running back.
It's just a guy that you have to even be in the mix.
Even if he did like 2 8s with that, he'd be a top 3 running back for the 3 weeks combined, because that one.
Right. Like Sam Laporta last year, like if he did like how he kind of had that where he had the one insane game. There was another game he did like literally nothing, and then he had a kind of an okay game. He still would have been completely mandatory in the sprint format.
This is a great take. I love that. I mean, Taylor can do the same thing, though. He can run for 204 in any game.
But HN, I think more so. I mean, the one thing that's like just valid about Jonathan Taylor is he's probably going to catch like 26 passes this year.
Yeah, that's the concern. That's why I kind of have glossed over him for sure. I wrote up a whole piece on team high value touches today, and that's the way that I think about him and the concerns that I have for that backfield. Like you said, the receiving.
I struggle to stay like I'm pretty clear-headed about a lot of Colts players. Like I don't draft any Michael Pittman. Like I'm not like a universal homer, but I will admit that I break ties of homerism for Jonathan Taylor on occasion. Like he's just one of my favorite players ever watched play football.
Yeah, me too. He's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I watched like we were getting.
I had a ton of him. He was when I think it was my last year at CBS. I was like the guy on staff that was the pro Taylor guy, and then he struggled early. Right, Matt got hurt, and then he struggled, and he didn't really capitalize on that. And then down the stretch was just awesome, and I was getting all the positive feedback from it.
Do you remember the Nyheim Hines is starting over Jonathan Taylor era of like 3 weeks? That was literally, that was
a very depressing time. Yeah, I was like, oh god.
I remember there was one. Oh, I should put it on the draft board view. There was at one point there was a game against Green Bay where Ian Rappaport comes out on like the NFL Good Morning Football, whatever, and says Nyheim Hines is the lead back. They're going to mix Taylor in, and he wasn't wrong. Like Hines started the game. Taylor comes in, he starts running like a man possessed. It was like after the Thursday night game that he looked like shit. He plays so well that game, clearly becomes the lead guy. And then the rest of the season, it was like a demolition derby of Jonathan Taylor, just like carrying the team and took it in all the way to the next season. He almost runs for 2,000 yards. It was, I think we're going to get back to that. If I went back and watched the YouTube highlights today, every touch of his in the last game of the season, the game that they needed to win to make the playoffs last year on that Saturday night against the Texans. He played unbelievable football in that game. Has 181 yards in that spot and a touchdown. I think I'm really hopeful that we're going to see that. I mean, all the reports out of camp could not be more glowing. Everything is like he's going to get 1 million touches. He looks as good as he's ever looked. That's the first time he's been fully healthy, and there's no holdout. There's no dark cloud over anything. The one thing about Taylor is like, if you just think about teams, what teams are going to build their whole offense about their running back? And it's like the 49ers kind of, maybe the Jets, maybe the Falcons, definitely the Colts. Like he's the number one dude that everything revolves around there. But we got HN, and everything we talked about with him was incredible, and I love him as well, obviously. All right. Who do the vibes lead you towards here?
Well, and I of course do all slow drafts. I haven't drafted in this range in at least a week. Like there's been some movement.
There has. Yeah, so Rice is long gone, for instance. He's a guy that normally would be a target.
Oh, wow. He's just a mid-third now.
Yeah. So I think I would be Diggs and Higgins. What say you?
Yeah. Yep. I know I'm in on that.
Well, that was easy.
Higgins is, a really fun click. He strikes me as this year's Ayuk, where the camp, we were talking earlier about the camp stuff on Ayuk last year. That's all we heard about Higgins this year. Best camp of his life. Looks amazing. I think it was preseason week 2, Burrow's one drive. It was like RPO, Higgins, bomb to Higgins into double coverage. Higgins catches it, and it just gets jarred loose going down for a touchdown. 3rd and long, pass to Higgins, draws a DPI, gets first down, and then red zone look to Higgins, catches it, catch and run into the end zone, touchdown. So it was only 2 catches. He dropped the one in the end zone or got it ripped away in double coverage, but they still went for him. Also drew a DPI on the other one, but he ends up with a TD on the other end. He ends up with a catch on the very first snap. It was so like clearly Higgins is going to do everything this year. Like last year, he hurt the whole year. And this year it was like, this is not just a deep threat. This is not
Burrow was
just Mike Williams or just Gabe Davis or whatever. Like this particular type of player. Like this is, we can do him on RPOs. He can be the number 1 wide receiver if Jamar Chase is going to show up or whatever. Obviously Chase is going to be there, but T. Higgins is like a number 1 that we had to take in the 2nd round last year, and he got hurt, and now we get to take him at the 4 or 5 turn. That's great.
And you know what's weird about this? It's so weird how the market decides to price certain things, right? So like when Ayuk, it looked like he was going to get traded, the market got pretty excited. They started moving Debo up, which was rational. They don't really do anything with Kittle, which was irrational. And then Chase, people are getting scared, right? Like the draft that I did today, the primetime with Davis, Chase goes at the 111. Like, so people are getting scared about Jamar Chase holdout risk. T. Higgins price, unchanged. And it's like, if Jamar Chase held out, like we should be drafting T. Higgins like the early 3rd round. Like he would be an absolute smash. Lawrence, I really wish that I was. Unfortunately, I'm bailing this year. I have one of my best friends from Winnipeg is getting married the following weekend. So I already have to take off Thursday, Friday from work. I'm officiating the wedding. So I'll be doing the rehearsal dinner. Then I'll be there on the Saturday. So I'd have to take like 2 straight run-ups to work off. And that wasn't quite going to fly. So
they're going to say the wedding was the same weekend. But what you're saying is you could make it, but you're not.
In theory, I could make it. But I don't think I'd be able to wrap that with work and everything else.
That's right. You're in your like first year on this job. Last year you were still in school.
Well, I graduated school and I had just passed the bar, and I hadn't started working yet. So I was in like the best month. Basically, I was having like literally the best 6 weeks of my life. Like all I did was travel and rip fantasy drafts and write and podcast. And then I started work the day after I got home from Vegas.
Right after Vegas. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I looked into Los Angeles firms really briefly, but I decided to
just checking out the landscape, seeing what's down there.
Yeah. Lawrence caught that joke too. He asked if I was flying direct this year.
Yeah. That was fantastic.
Oh, hell yes, Lawrence. He said,
I love this.
Let's do it. I might be in Seattle actually, Ben, in like 3-4 weeks because Green Day and the Smashing Pumpkins are playing in Seattle on a Monday night, and that seems of heavy interest to a guy like me. So I might be training down.
Green Day and the Smashing Pumpkins. It's not of much interest to me, but I mean,
you don't have to come to the concert, but if I come in for the Monday, I'd come in for the Saturday. So I'd definitely hit you up at some point.
Yeah, we should hang Saturday for sure. Yeah, Monday I'll just be writing Stealing Signals all day. So I'm like, Yeah,
I don't need anything. I can go and hang out at the market and then do some work from a cafe and then go watch Green Day, Smashing Pumpkins. Star Kindler went to that show last night and he said it was insane. So there you go.
I would say we could watch the games on Sunday, but this is where I watch the games. I just sit
You're locked in
on my screens. Yeah, I don't. My brother, who lives in Arizona, was in town for a weekend last year, and he wanted to watch the games, and I was like, I don't know how that's going to work, but I had to turn him down.
All right, this is a fun turn for the all vibes team because I feel like we can do a lot of different things at the 5-6 turn. Let's see here.
I can't believe McBride goes 503 in these now. I mean, just draft a million of them and take McBride every time.
All right, so
that is financial advice.
Kyle, one of these picks is Kyle Pitts, right?
We're taking Kyle Pitts.
Let's use the clock. I'll star him. Who is the other pick? Are we going to rectify?
I think we got to go Reed over Keenan. I think we have to.
Have you considered that Rachaad White's available?
Who?
Sorry, my internet must have cut out there. Anyway, we click Jayden Reed.
I don't see anybody by that name on that list. I saw Joe Mixon, who I'm not a big fan of. I saw some other names after that.
Yeah. There it is. We got Jayden Reed this time. Nature's healing.
Yeah.
I think in the moment it felt a little sketchy because we took a risk on the quarterback. After we got Caleb, I think we made the right pick. Actually.
Yeah, I feel great about it now. But it's fun to get Reed on this one because it truly was a Sophie's choice, and now we've balanced it.
We have
everything. We've got the yin and the yang. Everything is very balanced now.
It still is so crazy to me. Like, you have so many good takes about football. I would have given, if there was like any place in the world that I could have been born at any time to be born, it would have been like in Seattle in the late 80s and early 90s, in like what I consider to be like the most important 5-year run of music in my whole life. And the fact that you have like no interest in any Seattle grunge band is just like so tilting to me. Like,
well, okay. So first of all, I was born in 87. So the grunge scene was pre 95. I was like 8 years old yet. Like, so when my first CD was Fastball, Where Were You Going Without Ever Knowing the Way, and like Chumbawamba, right? Like I get knocked down.
But
those are my first CDs, and I did listen to that like kind of alt stuff, whatever. That's when I was in middle school or whatever, right? I bought my first CDs. Those two and Truly Madly Deeply. Who's that? Savage Garden. That's the stuff that I bought my first CDs on. Cool. And then like by that time though, rap got really popular.
Yeah.
And so like that was like by the time I was in like middle school, Tupac had been killed in 96, but then got really popular post mortem. And Tupac was huge on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I like my older brothers were listening to Tupac and I started listening to a lot of Tupac and a lot of like West Coast rappers. I thought rappers were really cool from the lyricist side of it, like the poetry side of it. Like there's something about that I was really connected with me and I thought was really cool. Like Corrupt was one of my favorites. He's a fucking wordsmith and he's a West Coast rapper. And anyway, that was the stuff that I started getting into, but the grunge stuff was never popular when by the time I got there, it was TRL,
like late 90s. Late 90s, like the rock evolution to that point would have been like Weezer, Green Day, Blink-182 by then,
right?
On the rock side of
things. I started in that stuff, and then I quickly moved over towards like the rap side of stuff, and
then I mean, I was
listen to like older stuff. It was too near that it was like not cool anymore.
It wasn't cool anymore.
And so people listen to AC/DC and stuff, and that's like I have like a lot of the 80s stuff I really like too, but. Yeah, I missed the grunge stuff. It just never was like I was like right in that perfect age where it was like it was not cool when I was the right age.
Right. Yeah, this will add a nice perfect date between our age range. But I was 8 years old when American Idiot came out, and it's like it's kind of cringy to say, but it's like easily the most important album of my life. Like I like listened to it probably. I would say I listened to it start to finish probably 1,500 times the year that it came out. And then
that's great.
And then like, yeah, that was like because they had Dookie, which was their first big album. And then they did like nothing for like 8 years. And then they had this big comeback with American Idiot, fired a whole new generation.
You were 8?
People like me. I was 8. Yeah.
So I was 18-ish because I think I'm about 10 years older than you, right? And so my little sister's 4 years younger than me. So she would have been about 14. She got that album. Her bedroom was at the end of the hall, and I kid you not, she listened to that album nonstop.
That was me.
We would make fun of her so much. Like, I mean, like the whole family. Like my mom would be like, "God, are you still listening to Green Day down there?" Like, but she loved it. Oh my God, McMillan's got 10 catches for over 300 yards.
Stephanie, I'm woke to Kerplunk. I said Dookie was their first big album. That was the major label debut. I'm woke to Kerplunk. Don't worry about it. Anyway, so I listened to American Idiot. I was like radicalized. Me and my buddy Luke immediately were like, we have to start a band. Like that's the thing that we have to do. And we did. It was a very bad band. We were in a band from like ages like 10 through 13. It was terrible. We were called the Tarantulas.
Fantastic.
And then
love that.
And then I went back and got hyped on all of the early 90s grunge stuff because I was like, all these bands.
JSN
now, like,
almost made it back. Holy,
sorry, would have been incredible, dude. That would have been insane.
Dude, he went 709.
Oh,
I've seen him in the 80s in months.
We would have been fucking thrilled with that. The wide receivers are going later. Like, I know you're not quite as into Ladd, but I get him at this turn like pretty frequently now.
Wow.
Which I think is a money pick. Okay. One of these picks has got to be the guy we argued about on Twitter today, right?
Yep.
And then what's the next one?
I'm really open on the other.
I'm Warren here, probably.
Sure.
You good with it? If there's someone else you want to take,
No, man, this is the fun vibes draft. Warren is the fun vibes.
We could pull up Burrow too with Higgins.
No, this is all about the fun vibes draft.
Sweet.
Well, unless you, we got Burrow, and then also I was thinking about Love because we were talking about him on the last draft. They're both going to be gone?
Probably.
So who else are we playing? What are we doing at QB then?
Yeah, then it's like, well, then it's bad. So I think we got to take a quarterback probably. Would you be Burrow or Love? We could do either one.
Part of me wants to just do Love.
All right.
Let's do Love.
All you need is love, baby.
Yeah. We were just talking about the grunge scene. There's a little Courtney Love tie in there.
Nice. I mean, I'll tell you what. If we didn't take Love, we would have been in a hole at quarterback.
And I think Love's a fun-ass pick.
You didn't even get that fucking reference, did you?
No.
Her band was named Hole.
Oh.
Fuck's sakes. Purple Yachty. Stephanie knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. Anyway, for people that are with me on the music tapes, by the way, the best podcast in the entire world is Bandsplain, hosted by Yossi Solek. They do these insane deep dives. Yeah, Ben knows it's time to let me cook here. They do these massive deep dives into a different band every week. The most recent season was all about the grunge movement. So they did an episode on Mother Love Bone, Green River, Temple the Dog. They did a 9-hour 2-part podcast on Pearl Jam with Kevin Clark. So if you're a football fan, ultimate crossover. Kevin Clark was the guest on that. Massive Pearl Jam fan, Kevin Clark. They did. I listened. I was up today and I got through the first 2.5 hours of the Soundgarden episode. I listened to the Alice in Chains episode earlier this week. Could not be a better show. So, Steph, I will DM you Bandsplain. I'll DM you that right now. All I want in life is other people that listen to Bandsplain, because I keep trying to get people to listen to this podcast and everyone's like, oh, it's too long. I don't want to listen to a 5-hour podcast every week, which is fair. So Steph, you can join me. We can chat about the episodes. Ben's back now. So music hour's over. We're back to football hour.
No, you crushed that. That was beautiful. I saw somebody say, TG said he subscribed and liked instantly due to the stupid nonsense, which I love.
Nice.
Everyone else subscribe, like the video, do all those things. Oh no, we lost a subscriber just now.
on 2 hours and 27 minutes, we went on a tangent.
Gonna go sub to someone who interacts with their fans, not nobody who talks about his personal life.
Oh, okay. It's a tough scene.
Oh, it's supposed to be fantasy football, not your personal life. Your fans are here to talk fantasy, not your 12-year-old memory of your sister playing a song.
Here's the
wow,
thing,
Philly Mike is he's going through it right now.
Here's the thing. You see the title, Philly Mike. The title says drafting for $1 million in the FFPC main event. Do you see a main event board? No, because we finished the main event. We already gave you what you signed up for.
Don't even explain.
This is bonus hour. This is bonus hour.
Don't even explain to him. How dare we get to know you, says Jeremy. Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Oh, I love this one. This is good, too. Classic bear behavior.
I love the most recent one. Please send Philly Mike a link to the Crack Rock stream.
That's good. It's good.
Partially for good reasons and partially for less than good reasons, I've never laughed harder in my life than I laughed watching the Crack Rock stream.
It was not, there's nothing. There's a lot of things. I don't know what to say.
Anyway,
Blake Corum.
Interesting that he's not moving up around.
Oh, Philly Mike's pumped. He fucking shouted me out. It worked.
Nice. Yeah.
That's
We're
right.
Pick me energy from Philly Mike.
You did it. You got it. The other thing is we got the 12 pick. This is what happens when you get the 12 pick. You got to waste time between picks. I've done a lot of drafting on stream. It's a lot easier when you can just do like a little bit of a riff and then you're up again. Do a little bit of riff and you're up again. You get the 12 hole, you're like, God, we got 10 minutes to fill. What kind of music did you listen to when you were a kid?
Yeah, the 12th thing, you got to talk about the band that took Winnipeg by storm, the Tarantulas with 2 Zs, because there was already a band named the Tarantulas. We were very sure we were going to get big. So we were like, we can't be the Tarantulas with 1 Z. And I didn't want to do an S. So we were the Tarantulas with 2 Zs. We played 1 gig. And we played 1 song at that gig. And the song was called I'm Sad because we were very angsty in 12. Oh, man. All right. We are about to be on the clock here. So, look at this. I think we're going to have a really fun turn here. I'm not going to make you pick the non-vibes player, so don't even get stressed about that.
Brian Robinson.
He went. So we're definitely taking Wicks here, right, for the double stack.
Yes, that's why I wanted to do Love. I wanted to get Wicks on this turn.
Who's your favorite here? Like I like Brooks or Spears.
That's who I want to. One or the other. We already took Brooks tonight. I know you really like Spears. I think, especially because like we only have 1 running back so far. We need some points. You know.
You'll be pleased.
Little different in best ball than our earlier draft. You do need RB2 points in best ball. You can't pick somebody up after week 1.
You'll be pleased to know that I entered a shit ton of puppy 3s. So Brian Robinson Jr. has been overtaken as my most drafted running back in best ball. My new most drafted running back in best ball is Tyjae Spears.
There you go. We just got him. I like the Tyjae Spears play. I do. I'm in on it after watching them in the preseason. Again, another one I wrote about.
I'm even in a little bit on Pollard, and I was really pretty out on Pollard, but I've even drafted him more recently.
Yeah. He looked good. I saw your tweets about that where it was like, it's weird for me to not be like super in on him, but he did look really good. But yeah, I mean, you made some great points.
I'm overweight both. I have 9% Pollard and I have 21% Spears.
But if you're going to take that backfield, you want to take the year 2 guy. It looks like he's ready to break. I mean, but Pollard looks
good. They had this argument today for a while, and my argument was like, Spears is good and we know he's good. And all the evidence is that it's going to be a pretty even split. And so people keep saying, well, what if Pollard's fully healed and then he's just good again? And I mean, that would make me very happy. But like, if he is, like, I just don't know why the Titans would be like, here's this guy who was always elite in a timeshare role. We paid him to come in and be part of a timeshare. And then if he's really good in a timeshare, we're going to scrap that plan and give him 75% of the snaps. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Why wouldn't they just be like, great, he's good in a timeshare. Well, plan doesn't change. We have 2 good running backs. We'll play them both interchangeably like we plan to. Like, that just seems like the most logical solution. So to me, I think base case, they're similar. There's some age risk on Pollard. I think there's less of that risk now after we've seen him kind of have the juice back. But either way, I think base case are going to be pretty similar. Spears is cheaper. You get the contingent upside either way. Maybe it's 60% Pollard. I'm a little bearish on that. I think it's going to be closer to a 50-50 personally, but
I think it might be 60% Pollard. That's the thing that I thought was a little different in the preseason than the coach speak. The coach speak stuff sounded like all 50-50. And then when we actually saw it, it was like, meh. And they paid Pollard like that. So
they did.
I'm ranking Spears ahead of Pollard still. Because I do think you're getting, I mean, even at 40%, I think you're getting a lot more certainty of the efficiency element of it and all that, where the Pollard stuff looked good in the preseason. I'm definitely willing to take in and I have a decent amount since then. But I mean, it's one of those things where people think about the week 1 stuff. This is another way that people think about the week 1 stuff too much, right? We talk about this with running backs in a lot of different ways, but Pollard's going to be 60% week 1, but there's a lot of ways that this plays out. And if you think that Spears is the better talent and he's starting at 40%, then like the only way that he doesn't score more points is if he stays at 40% the whole year. Because if it does move towards 50-50, or if Pollard gets hurt or anything, because Pollard's taking on more of the like heavy lifting and a lot of the more touches that can lead to more injuries, Spears is doing more space, satellite back type stuff. I mean, everything else leads towards Spears ultimately ending up doing more and scoring more and all of those things. If you believe he's the more talented back, like it happens all the time. It happens with the Chase Brown stuff. Like whenever people talk about these 60-40s and they're like, yeah, but I got to take the 60. I think the 40 guys more talented. Got to take the 60. Like if you think about the way this evolves throughout the season, you want the talented 40% back over the guy that you, in this case, we don't necessarily think Pollard's bad because we're talking about he looked great.
Right. Like Pollard's a different case than Zach Moss because like Zach Moss has always been Zach Moss. And if we get 2022 Tony Pollard, he's one of the most dynamic players in the league. Yeah. But, you know, the only way that fully hits is if it was all on the injury. Because if it's about age, if it's about he just wasn't up to more touches, or if it was the injury, but he doesn't fully recover in the way that you want him to, you know, there's just a lot of other variables that could creep in. And I'm always, even though we look good in the preseason, like I meaningfully moved Pollard up my rankings and I've drafted him more. So I'm not being unresponsive to preseason stuff. But I do think that we sometimes get over our skis with older players who show up in the preseason or in week one and they look really good. And then everybody on Twitter goes, you big idiots, you faded this veteran. Look at what he did in week one. And it's like, it's a long season, guys. Like the last piece I'm going to write, it's going to come out Thursday morning, is going to be takes that people will victory lap in week one that won't be true in week 17. I'm going to have 10 takes that I think people are going to be aggressive about. Basically, that I think we're going to see certain things in week one that aren't going to hold up over the course of the season. I'm interested to see how many of those come true, but I think there's been a lot of those in the past where we see certain things in week one that people get very emboldened about, then evolve. It's a long season.
Yeah. A lot of ways I can play out. What do we have here? Let's go back to the start of this build. We got a love double stack, Achane and Spears, who we're obviously talking a lot about. Nakua, Diggs, Higgins, Reed, Hollywood, and Wicks. We got Kyle Pitts. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this is quite a fun team.
See you next week, buddy. Lawrence is bouncing. He said, see you next week. And what did he say? And we will work to bring the party up here soon, Jacob.
Oh, yeah, man.
He's over on Vancouver Island.
Hell yeah, Lawrence. Have a fun time. Hope all you guys have an absolute blast in Vegas. I will experience massive amounts of FOMO, but I hope you guys have a great time nonetheless. I had so much fun last year in Vegas. You guys know how to get down for sure. Yeah, a lot of fun picks here that makes sense.
Do you want to click RB real quick? Because we do have two of those. Notoriously
so we have two correlated running backs right off the top that both make sense.
I think Ty's got to be one, right?
Yeah.
Because we have the double stack. Benson's with
Benson.
Let's just take them both. Let's take them both.
I guess that doesn't even matter because it's a week 15 through 17, but I just think Benson's a really good pick. I think Ty's a good pick here too with this stretch. So
yeah, they both fit really well. I was gonna say Jalen Wright instead of the Benson pick, basically, but we have Achane. So
yeah, I'll do Achane. I'll do Wright with Mostert. I'm not as into Wright.
Yeah, with Achane. That's what I'm saying. I didn't realize we had Achane when I was thinking that. It would have been. Yeah, Chandler. See, like in best ball, Chandler
we could have pulled up Jaleel. We didn't discuss that, but I would have.
Oh, that's what we should have done.
Yeah. Oh well.
But Benson's a good upside swing. Again,
I'm still in on Trey Benson. I'm going to be a little bit stubborn on that. I know he's been really moving down for a lot of people, but
yeah.
I've given up the dream of him being in like a timeshare from week one, but this team's pretty good. We're going to be in the sprint. I think Benson has multiple outs to winning there, where if the Cardinals are really good and something happens to James Conner, which not that I wish ill upon him, but something always seems to happen to James Conner.
He missed like 3 games every year of his career so far, I think.
Yeah. Then at that point, he's going to have a chance to play. And this is one where I don't really think I have a certain level of conviction and the talent with Benson where I think this could be like a genie in the bottle scenario where even if that happens early, if Benson gets a chance to show out and he looks good, Connor comes back and then maybe it's more of a split. They have to sort of reorganize things. That's kind of the hope there. And obviously, if Benson wound up just somehow being the guy late season, that would be pretty huge in an offense that I think we both think that Vegas is kind of wrong on the Arizona Cardinals offense, right?
Yeah. Yep. Connor's missed at least 2 games in every season of his career.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, whatever. He could play all the games this year, but it's fascinating because he's also played 10 plus games every year. You don't usually see this.
Right.
Like usually it's like major.
Yeah, he never gets the ACL. It's always like kind of a minor injury. Yeah.
He misses some time, but not a ton of time. He's been 13 plus every year but one. There was 1 year he only played 10, and then every other year it's been 13 plus, but it's been 13 to 15 every year. He's never, consistently getting to the end of the season. So
I think some of the Benson stuff in terms of like, oh, okay, he's not going to play pass downs. Like that stuff that's real and that it matters. I think some of the stuff when people are like, oh, like what if Amari DiMercado's the backup? To me, that's a little bit of like, get serious. Like,
well, it's more like if DiMercado's playing on all the pass downs, then you're not even getting the contingent upside that you're hoping for.
Yeah, that matters for sure. But I don't know. I think that a rookie I think that a rookie has a chance to play himself into passing downs over the course of a season is how I would put it.
Mm-hmm.
But I get the issue because like I don't know. I didn't think that Benson was like. I really like Benson as a runner. I didn't think Benson was the kind of back where it was like. I think what I wrote was like if a team is philosophically committed to having a third down back, Benson's not going to pull them away from that. Like they'll play someone else on third downs instead of him. If the team wants a running back to be on the field on all 3 downs, he's probably capable enough to do that. But if that's like the staff, if they just want to have a third down back, then they might have a third down back.
Well, and it could just be like I that makes sense, but in this case, like it could be that they trust Connor for all that, but they also like DiMercado, so it's like okay, we'll give them their roles because we like both guys behind Connor. That's the way I'm thinking about it. Is like when you start hearing the positive stuff about DiMercado, they obviously like Benson too. They drafted him very high, but they like Connor a ton, and so it's kind of like okay, I think it's going to be Connor a lot early on,
and then when he sure, I agree,
yeah, and then when he misses, like instead of putting it all on the rookie, when you have another back that you also like, you're just like, well, let these guys do what they're good at, and we'll play them both because we like them both,
And DiMercado's good at that stuff. Like he did that in college. I mean, Kendra Miller never played passing downs in college because DiMercado was the one playing all the passing downs in college for that team.
I just got, or I'm checking my email and I saw the email of our draft, and I just want you to know that it fucks. It's a really good draft,
dude. Like it's so often I get so hyped for these drafts, and I always really like some picks. Sometimes it doesn't go quite exactly as you dream. That draft went better than I would have dreamed.
And what's funny about that is I just saw somebody tweet out 10-3-0-4-4. We've been talking about it on the stream all the time, but the McMillan stuff is like, wait,
McMillan watch.
What is happening? 300 yards receiving in one game?
Yeah, 10-3-0-4 and 4. He has slipped though. He was at a 50% target share. He's down to a 47% target share. So he's really fallen off.
I was going to say that you have those really good drafts, and I was saying earlier, like for all we know, it's going to go bad. But I will say in my experience, when the draft comes together like this, when I feel like I have a really good idea of the targets and the ADP and everything, and things really come together the way that this one came together, the season tends to go well too. In my experience, it has. It's been like when you really feel like, and you're saying this is the one that was great. I had a few teams finish really high last year, and several of them were leagues that you're mad about the Stafford pick.
Yeah, that would have been pretty nice for us. No, I mean, would have got him full round after ADP, stacked up with Puka. I think that would have been pretty good.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wasn't. Are we fucked on stacks now?
Let's see, maybe a little bit.
Can you go running back real quick?
We're gonna have to open up a stack. So
yeah,
running back, we got these guys.
I mean, I think I'm Lloyd with the Love
Lloyd?
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, with the Love stuff.
And then what would you say about either of these guys opens up a stack? Would you be Douglas or McMillan?
Well, I don't like playing.
Well, Baker. I don't think Baker's coming all the way back, so Douglas would be the one that we could actually get as a stack.
but McMillan's a better pick. We really our tight end 2 could be a stack.
Okay. Yeah.
Or let's go back to running back again. Oh, we could do Musgrave. Should we just take Musgrave?
Yeah, or we could do this guy.
Yeah, do him. Let's do him.
We're doing the all vibes pick, right? He's the vibes pick.
This is the all vibes stuff.
Yeah,
we'll figure out the stacks later.
All right.
Yeah, chat's got it. Freaking, we'll just do like a Nick's Franklin absurd thing.
Yeah, Franklin's doing a lot of work on that stuff.
Yeah. Maybe we can get Mims next and actually get somebody.
What do you think's worse? Being like the wide receiver 6 as a rookie or being the wide receiver 4 as a second-year player?
No, you say the big 3 now. See, the adjustment hasn't happened on Mims. They were just playing Patrick early to showcase him because even though we played really
so you don't buy the Valet stuff?
No.
Okay, because that's the Albright take. The Albright take is Valet's ahead of Mims, and he's the 3.
Oh, I haven't seen that. And Albright's usually like, for as much as he's
an insane person about his personal life, but about the Broncos, he's usually pretty rational.
He's usually pretty plugged in. Yeah. I have not seen it.
He tweeted that they were so impressed with Valet that Patrick was expendable and that he's the one stepping into what Patrick was going to do.
I kind of find that really, I find that pretty hard to believe based on
I do too.
Everything that, and he's also been a Patrick guy for years, Albright, and never really been right on Patrick. And he's always thought Patrick was way more
in fairness, he never had a chance to be right on Patrick because he's had season-ending injuries in the preseason for 2 straight years.
True. But like part of that tweet could be like kind of like the reason that, it was unexpected that they cut Patrick. I don't think that's true. I don't think there's any explanation that makes sense other than they were trying to get trade value out of him and they knew they were going to get rid of him because he played well. He played well enough that Sean Siegel, who doesn't care about veterans, was like, I think we need to start drafting Tim Patrick. I'm hearing so much positive stuff about him. He was trying to get me to draft Tim Patrick. I was like, what are you talking about? It's crazy.
Right.
But
yeah, they were targeting him. They were playing him with the ones. They were forcing him. And the story.
But he was also playing well. He was playing well, and then they still tried to trade him and couldn't trade him, and then they still cut his ass. That to me is like this was predetermined. He wasn't playing for anything. Well, if he was playing for a job, he was on the first team and playing well. It's not that they liked Vele. Like Vele was playing behind it. Like. They were showcasing. And that checks
out with the Perine stuff too, because the reporting on that was very loud before the preseason. They're cutting Samaje Perine, and then Perine's playing with the ones, and that's when everybody was like, maybe they're not cutting him. And sure enough, they were cutting him the whole time, and they were clearly trying to showcase him. They didn't do a very good job because they showcased him fumbling an interception right into Kenny Moore's hands, but he still ends up getting cut. Goes to the Chiefs. He's going to be the key to our main event win for $1 million now. So
that's right. Yeah, it all circles back. But no, exactly. They're the same thing with Perine. People talk about this idea of like showcasing, and it's like, yeah, it's overstated. But in this case, seems very clear that Sean Payton thought he was the smartest guy in the room, and he was going to showcase and he was going to get people to pay him for these veterans that nobody wanted, and he ultimately cut them both. But yeah, the Perine thing absolutely plays in. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe like that means that Valet is going to play a lot or something. But then you go back to like everything else. Mims was the guy that talked about in the offseason for the Judy job. Mims is the guy who's been saying like constantly when to play. Mims is the guy he started and played one snap and then mysteriously took out and then played later. And it was like weird. Why are you doing that? Again, it just feels like they were trying to showcase Patrick. But I think he's kind of tipped his hands that like Mims is the dude that's going to play in 3 receiver sets. Now, all the stuff about wide receiver size and everything, I understand. And Valet's like a way bigger receiver, and Patrick was bigger. But
he's also older than me, and he's a rookie, so that's a problem.
Right. It also just doesn't make sense that their 3 receiver set would be all big receivers. Like it's okay to have one smaller receiver.
You want to have one guy that can run.
Peyton has talked a lot about size and everything, but he used to play small receivers with the Saints. Lance Moore was a smaller dude that played a lot. Devery Henderson and Meacham were. I mean, there's always like he used Sproles a ton out of the backfield.
He always had off field stretcher. Brandon Cooks even is a small guy.
Brandon Cooks, like he has like, and that's to me like Mims is back like when you look at all of like the full body of evidence, he's back to like pretty clearly being a part of the main offense, I would guess. Especially because everything about Franklin is like that dude's not going to play this year.
Right. Yeah. The talk on him is it's healthy scratch season. There goes Mims. So
I talked about it too much.
And into that pick. All right. So what remains here? So we got 6 running backs. We're probably like hashtag we could be done at running back.
Yeah, we are.
One more tight end. We're probably what 2-6-8-2.
We have to. We have to get a quarterback.
I'm open to whatever.
Do you want to do like Juwan, Dave, and Carr right now?
Like on this turn? All right.
Well, it's same buy. You want to just take like Wandale? Just do Juwan.
Is it the same buy? Wait, why is it the same
Juwan
buy?
and Pitts. Oh, that's all right. That doesn't matter.
Oh shit! Sorry.
No, it doesn't matter. I said that really late. Do we take Carr here? Let's just take Carr here.
All right, fuck it. Sure, whatever.
Mims going right there was kind of a disaster. We could have went Mims Knicks right there.
Yeah, we would have for sure. We would have. All right, that was a little annoying, but whatever.
Yeah,
we'll get through it. We could do. We're pretty strong at receiver. We took 5. We could do 2, 6, 7, 3 on this. I think and get away with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't mind. I don't love it, but I don't mind the 2 tight ends. The taking a 0 at tight end for 1 week. You know.
Yeah, I mean, the data was pretty clear on this that it is like almost irrelevant. Who was it? Was it? I'm going to attribute it to Winks because he's the guy that does a lot of stuff like this, but I don't even think it was him.
I can't remember either.
Someone did it, but they said like it was like it changed the advance rate like very marginally at tight end. It's meaningful at quarterback.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think part of that is thing, Eric. Right, we haven't touched on it yet, but you are correct that Josh Reynolds is not good. That is correct.
Well, but also I started drafting him because I think the same thing is true. That when Patrick got cut, that Reynolds was very locked in. Like he's more locked in than Mims. Like when I'm talking about Mims, I think being in the third role, and you're talking about Valet, like Reynolds is going to run a lot of routes. He's the new. Like early off season, I was saying I can't believe DeMarcus Robinson's going as late as he is. It's crazy, and now he's actually going late again. But he went up in like the 15th for a long time. What's that?
Because of the Whittington hype.
Oh, right, the Whittington hype. But Reynolds is the new, to me, is the new DeMarcus Robinson, where it's like this veteran that I'm really sure is going to play plenty. And
well, I think Reynolds can be a good pick in his own right, in that he's going to run a lot of routes. And I also think that having Josh Reynolds run a lot of routes makes every other person running routes beside Josh Reynolds a better pick.
Yeah, true.
There's not many wide receivers I'd rather run routes beside than Josh Reynolds when it comes to people stealing my targets.
God, that Mims, we were sitting there. I was cooking on Mims, and then he goes 2 picks before us.
Sold me, dude.
I didn't. Yeah,
I was out on Mims, and you made such a compelling case. I was ready to go to the mattresses for Marvin Mims.
And then, well, the unfortunate thing is we weren't really prepared to do anything else, so we just had to get some stuff done.
We were not prepared. We not our first Derek Carr, Juwan Johnson stack of our streams together.
No, that's why I went to it. I remember last time we were like, all right, I guess we're riding
reliable.
I think we did that in the 500 too, man.
We did. Yeah.
We really need Derek Carr and Juwan Johnson to be good.
Yeah, man.
Which is not going to happen.
I have our big dog team, also from the 112, was that was Jalen Hurts and Derek Carr, James Conner, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown, Tyjae Spears, Bucky Irving, Ray Davis, AJ Brown, Puka, Diggs, Worthy, Mitchell. We got a lot of duplicate players. Williams. Oh man, we got the 154 Polk on that team. I remember being really excited about that. And then we got the GOAT, Jalen Naylor, George Kittle, Juwan Johnson.
That's what we should have done: is Sam Darnold, Jalen Naylor.
Yeah,
bypass Justin Jefferson
in on Sam Darnold. We could have done, if we were really doing this for the vibes, Nick Mullins, Jalen Naylor.
Yes.
You know what I've done on 2 or 3 teams? I've done Jameis Winston.
Because Watson's so broken. Yeah, I could buy it.
I mean, he's going to be like 0.1% owned, right? And if you somehow got him into a final, I feel like it'd be kind of fun.
The Huskies appear to have won.
I'm really proud of you guys. Beat the mighty Weber State.
Yeah, Weber State Wildcats, I think it is. 35-3.
Nice. Way to go, Huskies. Who's playing on the Huskies went from like must-see TV the last 2 years to like I don't know a lot of who's playing on the Huskies right now.
No, that's what I was saying. They only have 2 returning starters this year on either side of the ball. Total.
Yeah, crazy.
Because a bunch of people transferred as well. I mean, most went pro. Like we had both of our offensive tackles.
Is the transfer that's the main receiver now, right?
Both of our offensive tackles, 3 wide receivers, 2 tight ends went to the combine. 1 was drafted. Obviously, our quarterback was drafted. Dylan Johnson, our running back, was he drafted or did he just UDFA it?
He was UDFA with the Titans. They let him go. He got a try with the Panthers. They let him go. So he's
not good enough. But yeah. I was trying to list all the people that got drafted off our offense. So a lot of names. All right, what are we doing here? Oh yeah,
these are some guys that stick out to me. I'm going to throw another one out. That's kind of he already got drafted. Yeah, we could also do a third tight end because of the bye week stuff. I don't know if you know about Colby Parkinson.
What about click on QB real quick too? Because Carr doesn't have
Bryce Young, Fields.
So I think Malik Washington for sure.
Okay, I'll just let the clock run out on that one because we got to figure out. So we could do Naylor or Whittington.
I don't care about
tight end Parkinson. We could also do Fields.
I think it's probably Parkinson or Fields. What do you think? Do you want to get more quarterback upside?
Fields,
other than Carr, because Carr's
they're both very reasonable picks. Yeah, I mean, does the bye week matter to us that much? Because I think these two outside of the bye week are totally
fine. I don't care about the bye week. Let's do Fields. Let's get some more quarterback upside in this build.
Sweet.
It's a sprint. So one big Fields game would be pretty sick. And then we also have the love double,
Yeah, exactly.
Carr's more of just an advanced play. He's stacked. Maybe we could get a good game out of him, but I like a little bit more QB ceiling there.
All right. So the team is, you want to run it down for your comments here?
Yeah, Jordan Love, Derek Carr, Justin Fields, Devon Achane, Tyjae Spears, Trey Benson, Ty Chandler, Marshawn Lloyd, Kamani Vidal. That's a really good running back room. Puka Nacua, Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, Jayden Reed, Hollywood Brown, Dontavian Wicks, double stacked, and Malik Washington. That's a good 7-man receiver room. And then Kyle Pitts and Jawan Johnson's a great 2-man receiver room. Bye week bros not happy, in shambles. But this is a good team. Another good team. Look at
that. We're locked in tonight, man.
We are locked in. This has been an absolute fucking blast. I'm pumped about this team. I'm also tired. That draft lasted just long enough for my Huskies to win. Now I can go sleep as a victor. We have a victory draft in our books. Nice. Like the stream. Before you go, subscribe to the channel. Jacob, tell everybody where they can get all your stuff.
Of course, got all my stuff, Thinking About Thinking, which is my name.substack.com. Posted one take for every NFL team today, so you can read all of those. I'm going to have fully updated Dynasty rankings tomorrow at some point before the season starts. Actually, I'm going to commit to having them by Monday. I'm not going to lock myself into tomorrow. And I'm also going to have alongside that annotated running back tiers, which is my favorite thing to do. I break down a tier and cluster every running back in the Dynasty landscape. I usually get them into about 15 different clusters. I assign a base pick value to every single running back. I do a write-up on every running back in those tiers. I only do that 3 times per year, so that's going to be fun. And then in season, I'll have a Hitchhiker's Guide to Running Back. If you are drafting not very many running backs in your teams, which if you subscribe to Stealing Signals or you subscribe to Thinking About Thinking might be a common affliction for you, you're probably going to want to know what running backs to stream, tracking some of the not just the usage, but like I'm going to be putting in film clips and stuff like I always do throughout the week of some of the trends that I expect to see going forward in these backfields. That's been a lot of fun all throughout the in-season. And then I have to do a quick shout out. I've been doing a new YouTube series, about 15 minutes every week, on the Fantasy Points YouTube channel called Dynasty 101, evergreen dynasty strategy content out there. So if you want to check me out doing that stuff, and I suppose I'll try to find some time to do law in between that.
Yeah. Also a lawyer in his off time when he's not doing all this awesome stuff in fantasy.
We'll see. I mean, we're 3 hours in, so we'll see how long that goes. But yeah, absolutely.
This has been a blast. Thank you to everybody watching along. Thank you to Jacob. Check out his Substack, jacobsanderson.substack.com. We titled this stream, we're drafting for $1 million. Pretty sure that we won it. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my half. It's been a blast. For Jacob, I'm Ben. This has been Stealing Signals. Later.